She was the light. He, the forgotten shadow. But when the light was devoured by the abyss, the shadow awoke for vengeance.
I couldn't see my friends. I could not breathe alone. You helped my lungs expand. Slowly losing my mind over you. Burning like fire and smoking like drugs. You like seeing me hurt, but I bet you ain't.
A cut slices through the darkness. The blade strikes the winged creature squarely, splitting it in half and causing blood to splash onto the stones. The blonde warrior stands firm, panting. The split creature multiplies right before her eyes, leaving her incredulous. One of the monsters descends at high speed, attacking. She blocks with her sword, feeling the force of the impact, but it's not enough. A claw pierces her abdomen. Her eyes widen, unable to believe this was her end. A ragged scream escapes her lips. She feels the pain take over her body. Blood trickles from the corner of her eyes as her expression twists in shock. The impact throws her to the ground. A dry sound echoes through the cave as her body hits the floor. Now her face faces the cold ground. Her breathing is weak, broken. Amid the pain, her thoughts turn to him. "Sorry, brother." In the darkness, the image of a young man with dark hair appears. He smiles softly, saying, "Nana, I'll be waiting." A monstrous jaw approaches. The teeth open, ready to devour her as she has her last thought. I don't think I'll be able to keep that promise. Unaware of the whole situation, the sky was clear over the busy city. Among the streets, a young man with silver hair walked calmly, carrying grocery bags in both hands. It was Rao. His gaze was calm, almost distracted. A voice called him from a distance, and he turned his face, recognizing the workers greeting him with smiles. "That's a lot of food. Is today the day Nana comes back?" one of them asked, resting a shovel on his shoulder. "Yes, she said she'd return as soon as the expedition in the Rank A dungeon was over." "That was a few days ago," Rue replied with a slight smile. "Are you going into the dungeon too, Kuji? How's your health?" The focus shifted to one of the men. "Much better now," he answered confidently. His name was Kuji Shimura, a Rank D explorer. Soon the farewell came. Kuji waved his hand. "All right, I'm heading out. I'll stop by later for something to eat." Rue just smiled, affirming he'd be waiting. As Rue walked away with the bags in his hands, two men watched him from afar, whispering, "We're risking our lives here and can't even afford meat. Meanwhile, that lazy guy lives like a king without lifting a finger." The other retorted with a crooked smile, "Well, he has a sister and 7 stars. That was the organization with the greatest power in Yoram." Kuji seriously said, "Don't talk nonsense. When Nana almost starved in the alleys, it was Rue who saved her." Even knowing this, the first replied that everyone there was starving too. Memories of the past come to mind. Rue, still a child, extends a piece of bread to a little blonde girl curled up on the sidewalk. Even then, he already knew how to survive, scavenging trash and living off leftovers. "All right, I get it," one of them concedes, "but in the end, he lives off his sister, so let us complain a little." One last phrase hung in the air, full of irony and cruelty as the sunset stretched. If she dies, he'll go back to misery anyway. Rue arrived home carrying bags with fresh ingredients. He placed everything on the kitchen table, sighing deeply. He looked at the clock on the wall worriedly. "I went too far to get the right ingredient. I'm really late. I need to hurry and prepare dinner." Without wasting time, he put on an apron and began chopping vegetables with precision. The pots were already on the stove, and the smell started to fill the room. Shortly after, dinner was ready. He wiped his hands with a dish towel and stood in front of the table, satisfied. But then he stopped. The smile slowly faded as he picked up his phone, thinking, "But she's late." Rue looked at the phone. On the screen, a happy photo with Nana, but the clock showed 7:02 p.m. Working overtime again? He thought, a knot in his stomach. Night fell silently. The food cooled on the set table, and he remained there, head down, waiting in vain. The sudden ring of the phone broke the silence. The screen displayed, "Unknown number." He answered, still sleepy and drained. "Hello? Good evening. This is the Explorers Association. Are you a relative of the explorer Nana, also known as Shining Light of 7 Stars? He replied, "Yes, that's me." But the next moment the news made his eyes widen. "We're sorry. She was killed by a monster during a mission in a Rank S dungeon. The death was confirmed 2 hours ago." The ground seemed to disappear, and in disbelief he shouted, "What? No!" The desperate scream echoed through the house. The news had shattered everything inside him. The plate fell to the floor, shattering into pieces. The carefully prepared food mixed with broken porcelain. The voice of the association attendant remained cold. "We just wanted to inform the family. But if this leaks, the death of a 7 Stars member would cause problems. Keep it confidential. We will send compensation within a month. Contact us if you have questions. Good night." The call ended. The beep echoed through the empty room. He stood still, holding the phone as if the world had frozen. "Nana? She died?" His voice came out low, almost a whisper, and then the memories hit him like an avalanche. The little dirty, weak girl asking him, "Can I call you brother now?" And since then, she always called him that. "Big brother," she said with a smile running through golden fields. "Did you hurt yourself again? They're talking bad about you," she protested angrily. "I'll be back soon, okay?" she promised before leaving through the door with a confident smile. "Make something tasty and wait for me. It's just a rank A dungeon this time, so don't worry." Every word echoed like a stab in his mind, and now she would never come back. Rue stood up suddenly, his gaze sharp. "Nana said it was a rank A dungeon, but that man mentioned rank S." Doubt began to form. The Explorers Association normally activated a special protocol for any incident in rank S or higher dungeons, a system that investigated precisely what had happened. But this time, the procedure was ignored. No report, no investigation, just a phone call, and too quick. Staring at the photo frame on their table in a rare moment of peace, he thought, they found out what happened in a rank S dungeon in just 2 hours? Or maybe that's not the whole truth. Something about that story didn't add up. His eyes glowed red under the moonlight and the wind blew through the window, shaking the photo of the one person he wanted to protect the most. 5 days later, Rue headed to the Explorers Association building. The imposing facade reflected the clear sky. Upon entering the main office, he was greeted by the man in the suit before him. "Mr. Rue, what brings you here today?" Rakuto Hutu, head of the Maikuu branch, already knew the reason. He folded his fingers on the desk and went straight to the point. "If it's about shining light, we already talked on the phone." Rao didn't hesitate. He looked firmly and declared, "I want to register as an explorer." Rakuto was silent. His expression hardened. For a moment, he raised his hand to his forehead, visibly disturbed. "Mr. Rue, becoming an explorer is walking alongside death, and you have no abilities. You're not qualified." But Rue didn't back down and stood firm as the man continued. "You were the closest to her. I'm sure she would want you to live in peace." Rue replied firmly. "According to the association's rules, relatives of explorers can register, even without abilities. So I can become an explorer." Rakuto pressed his lips. He knew he was right. With a gesture, he authorized the attendant. "Take him." And then Rue silently thanked. As he walked away, Rakuto watched him with heavy eyes. "If any problems arise, you will always be welcome here." Rue didn't respond, only cast one last glance before crossing the door and disappearing. Shortly after, he received his identification. He looked at the card for a moment. It displayed his name, his ability, which he still didn't have, and his rank. His expression was cold, yet firm, because he knew what he was doing. The memory of that conversation came to his mind. It recounted some events. The person who was with Shining Light used a special item and escaped. The rescue team was mobilized, but they found the worst scenario. The protagonist became nervous at that moment, stating that she had told him it was a rank A dungeon, but Rakuto calmly replied, "Actually, it was a sealed rank S dungeon. Maybe she lied so no one would worry." Rue stood still, unsure if he could believe what was being said. Pocketing the card, he thought, that wasn't a noble sacrifice. He walked through the late afternoon lit streets. The wind blew as he concluded his thought. "I'll find out the truth, no matter the cost." Days later, he stood before a swirling blue portal, emitting a strong buzzing sound. This was the entrance to a rank D dungeon. Veteran explorers, armed and confident, crossed the unstable space silently, as if this type of mission was just another routine. Meanwhile, at the back of the base, others laughed and chatted. One, excited, said, "I want to be a frontline explorer," quickly mocked by a colleague. "You can barely look at a monster corpse without crying." Rue listened silently. Better to stay in the rear. No monsters, no fights. Then, finally, the group, including Rue, passed through the portal. The light curved around their bodies, and in moments, they were inside a dark, damp cave. "It's been 30 years since the portals started appearing," one commented. "You've worked here for over 10 years and still haven't gotten used to it?" The other replied with heavy sincerity, "Do you really think anyone gets used to this?" Visibly nervous, the man scratched his head and asked, should we wait here?" One of the veterans, bored, noticed he was a rookie. The young man said, "Yeah, I was assigned to rear guard, but I don't really know what to do." The blonde looked at him. "And you still came?" "We don't go in until they take down the Guardian," another added seriously. The mood was impatient. One member tried to ease the tension. "No point in chatting out here. You'll understand everything once we're inside." "Don't mind him, he's always like that," said the purple-haired one, laughing, trying to make the rookie feel comfortable. Then they noticed another new face. The veteran, recognizing our protagonist, said, "You're new too, right?" Don't tell me you're a rookie. Ro, sitting farther away, kept a cold posture and answered without hesitation, I am. One veteran approached Rao, trying to guide him. If it's your first time, stick with us. Just follow what we do and whatever happens, never. But before he could finish, a monstrous roar echoed from the darkness of the cave. Everyone froze, turning scared toward the entrance. The cave's interior shook violently, and a red glow began to emanate from cracks in the ground. The 5 explorers, now standing before the blazing opening, froze instinctively. A sharp roar echoed, making the air vibrate around them. One of the rookies, desperate, took a step back. What do we do? Are we really going in? The blonde, visibly irritated, shouted back, We're going to be devoured. Didn't you go through the beginner training? The boy wearing a cap hesitated, embarrassed. Something happened at the association this year. There was no training. The answer shocked the others. The tense faces of the group turned to each other in silence. Behind them, arms crossed and with a cold expression, some murmured disdainfully, No wonder they're all idiots. His mind revisited a mistaken assumption. He believed he had missed the training because he entered through a special route as Nana's relative, but now he realized there had been no preparation at all. Everything had been wrong from the start. There is a big difference between true combat explorers and support groups. Normally, explorers refer to combat specialists. Only those ranked D or higher have the right to fight. Meanwhile, those in blue uniforms, civilians, and beginners like him only watch. One colleague, with a relaxed expression, commented, We're basically just temporary workers. Before the mood could calm down, the blonde impatiently said, If you want to help. But before they could finish, a voice from inside the cave shouted, Hey, you, come here. The group gathered at once, and the blonde said they now had work to do. Entering the new area, the scene was devastating. The body of a colossal monster lay in the background, exhaling purple mist. In front of it, several fighters, including healers and mages, were gathered around a fallen figure. Rue and the other supporters approached. The group froze in shock before the brutally attacked body. While part of the support team was still dealing with the shock of that encounter, one member vomited at the sight of the body ahead. A veteran warrior approached and, outraged by the rookie's reaction, shouted, You bastard! But before the situation got out of control, a woman with a cold expression firmly grabbed his wrist. He's new. Calm down, she said, keeping a steady gaze. Turning to the support group, she added, You all have experience, right? Then control them. The team leader sighed and struck the head of a distracted companion, ordering, Stop daydreaming and get back to work. The rookie, confused, started doing his tasks and muttered quietly, I didn't even do anything. Why was I scolded? Sitting nearby, Rue answered without hesitation, That was disrespectful to the dead and to those who loved them. The silence that followed was brief until the boy added, I didn't mean to, it's the first time I've seen something like this. Rue knew that, and explained that was exactly why they hadn't punished him. The curious rookie asked, How do you know all this if you're new too? Carrying a box of extracted crystals, Rue replied in a low voice, I heard it from someone. Rue walked silently with the box of crystals in his hands. His gaze was distant, thoughtful. At home, the little one called him. She told him the rookie got excited, was ambushed, another vomited, and in the end, a veteran killed the rookie out of anger. She tried to stop it, but it was too late. Rue responded seriously, Killing someone over that is too much, but argued, I know, but the fighters have always despised support members. Back in the dungeon, one veteran shouted, Hey, rookie, you gonna stand there chatting? The bodies still need cleaning. So you really are a rookie, huh? You looked so calm I thought you were faking it. He looked away, irritated, calling the man a boring old man. The veteran continued explaining that to clean a dungeon, they had to destroy the core, showing exactly where it was. But to break the core, you need to defeat the Guardian. No matter what monster it is, their bodies only last 30 minutes after death. But for Guardians, the countdown starts after the core is destroyed. Dragging a crystal cart, he told the rookie the monsters were useless corpses. Curious, the young man asked why. A veteran beside him explained, Because you can't take them out of the dungeon, so obviously they're useless. In this world, when a Guardian was defeated, there was a chance to get weapons or equipment. If someone was lucky, even a skill book, besides rare items. Seeing the rookie's interest, the blonde man commented, If you care about rewards, ask the fighters. The dungeon closes 30 minutes after the core is destroyed. Let's go. They were near the portal, all equipment ready. Laughing, the veteran with glasses waved goodbye, saying they would deliver the loot, and that payment would be in 3 days. Finally, he commented, Just because the support team doesn't fight doesn't mean it's safe. If you want to live longer, at least train a little. If you can run fast, you'll survive longer. The cap-wearing rookie sighed, dissatisfied. This would be an easy job, so he ended up discouraged. However, Rue squeezed his hand with a certain tension in the air. He knew he needed to get stronger at all costs. 2 days had passed, and back at the office, Rakuto met with our protagonist, asking how his first days had been. For Rue, it had been strange and dangerous. The branch chief started laughing at the situation and asked, "Didn't the treasure tempt you?" Ru was straightforward. "Nothing worth risking my life for." Rakuto observed him silently. There was something in that boy's eyes. After a brief pause, the man said, "You really do look like your sister." They both walked to the training hall. For a few moments, they stared at the empty space before them. In a thoughtful tone, he murmured, "Ro, I find all of this very strange." He continued, "With the legacy of shining light, you could live comfortably forever. So, what is your goal?" Ru kept his gaze steady, replying, "I can't live off Nana's inheritance. I bet you've heard all the rumors. That I'm a parasite, a useless freeloader," Ru went on, his voice heavy. "I'm tired of living while they whisper behind my back." Indignant, the man confirmed that Shining Light's death was still a secret, but eventually everyone believed he was the sole heir. Rakuto then confirmed, "It's good that you want to get stronger on your own. There's someone I want you to meet." At that moment, a muscular man with short white hair and a red tank top entered with his arms crossed and a cheerful look. "Hey, old man," he shouted. "What do you want from me now?" Rakuto smiled slightly. "Rao, this is Charlie, the mentor I chose for you. He may seem rough, but he's the strongest in our branch." Charlie laughed. "Don't exaggerate, I'm just a brute." Then he turned to Rao and, staring closely, asked disdainfully, "You're making me take care of this brat?" Rakuto, from a distance, responded firmly, "He is Shining Light's brother." Charlie froze for a moment. A sign of recognition and respect appeared on his face. He sighed and said, "All right, I get it, but this will be the last time." The reply came immediately. "I'm counting on you." Charlie, impatient, grumbled, "Get out of my sight, just looking at you makes me nauseous." Then he turned back to Ro, telling him to follow. Facing each other, Ru tried to introduce himself. "Hey, I'm Ro." Charlie interrupted right away. "I know, don't interrupt me, brat." After a brief silence, Charlie looked down at the boy. "So you used the privilege of being the heir of an elite explorer to get here, huh?" Ru didn't look away. Firmly, he answered, "Is there a problem with that?" Charlie looked at Ru suspiciously, frowning. "Are you sure you weren't deceived? Do you know what that privilege means?" Ro, with a calm look, replied briefly, "I do. The explorer's ranking system is divided into 6 categories from E up to S. However, there is an even more powerful group that surpasses even some S rankers, the so-called 7 stars. Those who reach this level receive the greatest benefits. Even after death, their families inherit part of their achievements. However, this privilege is only activated if the explorer names an heir while alive. Among the inherited rights, one is considered the most useless, but also the rarest. The heir can choose a type of training provided by the Explorers Association. This training represents a concrete chance to become stronger." Charlie looked at Ru seriously and said, "If you understand, then make your choice." Ru just stared at him, confused. "Choose what?" An uncomfortable silence settled between them. Ru remained still, confused by the proposal. Letting out a heavy sigh, the instructor scratched his head and explained, "Pay attention, this is important. There are 3 types of training: attack, defense, and speed." Knowing words wouldn't be enough, Charlie activated a mechanical training dummy. The machine appeared before them with metallic movements, and he began the demonstration. With a devastating kick, Charlie destroyed the robot easily. "This is attack training." Immediately after, he allowed 2 other machines to attack him at full force. Without moving a muscle, Charlie withstood the blows, keeping his arms crossed and a relaxed smile. "This is defense training." Finally, he took off running at an incredible speed, dodging fast-spinning moving targets. "And this is speed training." With the 3 robots destroyed on the floor and the room filled with debris, Charlie turned to Ru with a slight smile. "So, which one do you want to be?" Without saying a word, Ru kept his gaze steady, as if processing everything he had seen. Then finally, Ru took a deep breath. Without hesitation, he had made his decision. "Defense!" Ru goes out to train early in the morning. He runs alone with heavy steps. He keeps pushing forward, trying to maintain the pace, but his body soon gives out. He stops and leans on his knees, trying to catch his breath, feeling terrible nausea, as if he wants to vomit. While trying to hold it back, he thinks to himself, will this kind of training really help? He remembers Charlie with a satisfied smile after he chose defense. Charlie approaches and gives the boy a light tap on the shoulders. "Not bad, you're pretty smart." Ru reacts surprised. Then Charlie turns away while saying, "My comrades usually chose attack to protect themselves, or speed, to run away or strike first, but you..." Suddenly he stops, turns back and harshly states, "That's why they all died." The boy remains still, staring silently at the instructor as he processes the weight of that revelation. After a few seconds, Charlie crosses his arms and turns around, showing a calm expression. He finally breaks the silence. "You can set your own training routine, just make sure to strengthen your body." Ru, still unsure, asks, "You're not going to train me?" Charlie just smiles and replies lightly, "It's no use if you get exhausted just from running a bit." Without warning, he gives a friendly tap on the boy's back, making him cough weakly from the impact. "Train harder." Ru recovers from the cough and looks at Charlie seriously. "Got it." he says firmly. Charlie raises 2 fingers and warns, "You have 2 months. If you don't reach the minimum level by then," staring coldly at Rao, he makes it clear, "I don't care if you're Shining Light's brother, I'm not going to take care of you." Back to the present moment, Rao, still exhausted and sweaty, takes a deep breath. Then he looks ahead at the trail and continues running, affirming that he needs even more. Time passes. On the 20th day of the month, he is already training at home, doing sit-ups as the morning light floods the room. The calendar marks the passage of time, and Rue follows his determined routine. One night, Rue spends hours in front of the computer researching information about monsters. Accessing the association's records, he finds the report of an S-rank creature called Dogumbi, a mythical beast with magical resistance, wind and water attributes, and extremely high physical defense. He studies the creature's profile carefully and then slumps into the chair, thoughtful. Mythical beasts are really that strong, huh? No wonder, Nana. That's why you insisted so much on keeping me away from the dungeons, isn't it? The next day, a clerk thanks him after he makes a purchase. Come back soon. Outside, 2 workers watch him from afar. Meet again, huh? One comments. The other adds, and that's not all. He goes to the recovery station every day. That place is for rich people, to heal wounds and regain energy. While the workers comment that Rue lives well even without having abilities, he listens from a distance with a serious expression and thinks silently. The days go by. One day, he trains by climbing stairs in the middle of nature. The next day, he pushes himself doing pull-ups until exhaustion while a child watches curiously. The calendar pages fall quickly. 19, 21, 28, time passes. A month later, Rue already shows a defined physique, covered in sweat after another training session. A sound interrupts him at the door knock. He opens the door surprised and says, "Mr. Kuji, did something happen?" The man hesitates before reacting. "Rao, you..." Rue smiles and wipes his face with a towel. "Come in," he says lightly. In the room, he hands Kuji a mug while the man comments surprised, "Looks like you've been training lately. For a second, I didn't even recognize you." "Ha-ha." Kuji watches Rue silently, admiring the change. Then he asks naturally, "Hey Rue, when is Nana coming back?" Rue freezes for a moment but answers while serving the tea. "Who knows? According to the association people, she's on a mission abroad and won't be back anytime soon." Kuji just agrees, and while drinking the tea, Rue comments, "We've known each other for a long time. If you have anything on your mind, don't hesitate to tell me." However, the man stays silent for a few moments and then changes tone, commenting, "You've been buying more stuff lately, huh? That's been drawing attention." With a worried look, he adds, "You know, there are many people out there who can't even afford a piece of bread. And besides that, I heard you've been going to the recovery station every day." Rue replies ironically, "Worried I'll get robbed?" Kuji affirms, "As long as Nana is around, that won't happen." But, Rue looks at him firmly as Kuji finishes, "I heard something bad happened to one of the 7 stars." Surprised, Rue asks where he heard that, and the man explains, "I just overheard some A-rank explorers talking. Seems the association wants to keep everything quiet, but some people are trying to find out the truth." Kuji fixes his eyes on a photo of Nana and asks seriously, "Tell me the truth. How is Nana?" Rue smiles slightly and answers calmly, "If something had happened to Nana, I wouldn't be living like this, would I?" Silence hangs in the room for a moment. Kuji sighs and smiles awkwardly. "I guess you're right. You two have always cared more about each other than yourselves. Sorry for asking something so strange." Rue calmly replies that it's okay and thanks him for the sincere concern. When Kuji leaves, Rue comments, "It's already noon. Why don't you stay for lunch?" Kuji declines with a smile, asking to leave it for next time since he has things to do. As the door closes, Rue stares at it thoughtfully. Then he grabs his phone, looks up a number in the call list, and starts dialing his contact, idiot number 3. The call is answered with an ironic tone. "Oh, you finally decided to call me." Rue ignores it and replies seriously, "There's something I want to ask you." On the other side, the voice complains that they tried calling over 45 times in the past 2 months without success, and is surprised by the reason for the call, then asks, "Is it about the 7 stars?" Rue narrows his eyes and answers directly, What do you know?" The reply comes sarcastically, "Why don't you ask the association directly? But depending on your attitude..." The call ends. The beep sound echoes and Rue stares at the phone. Soon after, he calls back. The irritated voice asks, "Why did you hang up on me?" Rue speaks seriously. "If you say anything stupid, I'll ask my sister directly." The voice responds with important information. "One of the 7 stars has died. We still haven't confirmed who it was." The image shows a long-haired man looking over the city while commenting, "The association is trying to hide this, of course. An accident involving one of the 7 stars would attract national attention. And you ask me this instead of your sister. Could it be..." He pauses for a few moments before continuing. "Did something happen to Nana?" As the answer delays, he says he will contact her directly. But Rue quickly replies, "If you do that, I was so wrong to think about introducing you to my older sister." Furious, the man throws the phone to the ground in anger. Rue looks at Nana's photo on the wall and thinks, someone is trying to investigate Nana's death. He walks over to the picture frame and stares seriously. Is it a power struggle? Or is this person involved in her death? Later at the gym, Rue waits until Charlie appears at the door. Well, well, he comments upon seeing him. Rue approaches confidently as his trainer finishes speaking. You've changed so much in 2 months I can barely recognize you. Smiling, our protagonist asks if he managed to pass the test. Charlie rests his hand on his chin thoughtfully but finally says he barely passed, and with that they get straight to the point. He looks at Ro and says, I have good news and bad news. The good news is there is only one type of training available right now. Rue asks about the bad news. Charlie smiles mischievously before replying, your training consists of taking a beating, and then suddenly throws a brutal punch without warning. Our protagonist is thrown far by the impact, violently hitting the wall. Lying on the floor, he tries to get up, but Charlie stares at him with crossed arms and warns, remember this strength. When you can endure this, you will have passed the training. Panting and even a little disoriented, Rue asks if this is all that will happen. Charlie explains, the goal is to increase your endurance. As long as you don't die, no matter how much you get beaten, you will live a long time. Charlie looks at Rue seriously. It's the same inside and outside the dungeons. Those who survive are the strongest. Rue absorbs the words as his instructor adds, you can't be called strong if you're dead. Soon after, Charlie summons a combat robot and asks Rao to fight against it first. The rule is to dodge but never counterattack. Charlie yawns tiredly and leaves, saying he's going to sleep. It doesn't take long for Rao to be forced to dodge the machine's fast and violent attacks. The robot strikes the ground with a blow that cracks the surface around it. Rue thinks, damn, am I just going to keep running away? Then he takes a deep breath and concludes, no, that would destroy the purpose of the training. The robot charges again with force, winding up another punch aimed at Ro, who barely manages to dodge. Charlie's words echo in his mind. The goal of this training is to build endurance. With steady eyes, Rue faces the incoming blow and decides, I can't keep just dodging, I have to endure everything. He crosses his arms and takes the impact directly, trembling from the force. At that moment, Charlie watches from afar. He sees that Rue endures without fighting back and thinks, finally understood, huh? With crossed arms, he smiles. With this strength, he can train both body and spirit. That's why this training is simple. Defense training is often seen as useless. Rao continues taking the robot's blows with a firm body. And here we begin to understand that true strength in defense is not only physical. Endurance also requires control, focus, and the will not to give up. Meanwhile, Charlie relaxes in a chair. His phone rings with a bizarre ringtone. Irritated, he answers, grumbling, I've only been sleeping 2 hours a night this past week. If they send me one more mission... On the other end, an urgent alert sounds. An S-rank dungeon has appeared in Mizuyasu village. Charlie's eyes widen. The message continues. Most of the village has already been swallowed by it. Rakuto Hutu was carefully watching the envelope in his hands when he heard knocks on the door. Charlie entered without ceremony and announced, Kazami from 7 Stars gave us the okay. Rakuto then commented, you're good at convincing him. Calmly approaching, Charlie replied that everything would be easier if they had shining light. Then he sat on the sofa with a serious expression and stated, well, there's no way around it. We need to solve this problem soon. With regret and a distant look, he continued, it's impossible for an S-class dungeon to expand into other countries. They spent 2 weeks trying to contain it, but since last week, I haven't heard anything. Worried, Rakuto asked when this was supposed to happen. Charlie then showed him a new report. On the cover was a striking title, Mitsuyasu Village, S-Class Dungeon, Investigation Report number 01. At that moment, Charlie murmured, it's been 45 days. Noticing his boss's grave expression, he added, hey, I want to solve this soon too. One of Kazami's main members is injured. It will take at least a month to recover. You can't just replace someone from 7 Stars. Also, it seems there is internal strife in the Kazami family. The younger ones have disappeared. I feel sorry for him. He needs to find his brothers. After the 45 days, a distorted portal was violently spinning amid the dark vortex of a cave. An elite team advanced in formation through the dungeon entrance. Everyone was alert, tense. Behind the group, Rue walked with determination. One of the companions, visibly nervous, called out, hurry, the area boss is almost here! Rao just watched them silently. Ahead, something colossal approached from the side of the cave. Everyone's eyes widened as a monstrous shadow emerged. The creature revealed itself fully. A giant rabbit, with blazing red eyes and a sharp horn. It was the area boss. The health bar above the creature already indicated a very high threat level. Prepare for combat, shouted one of the warriors. The group quickly dispersed, each taking their position. The creature leapt fiercely, opening a crater in the ground upon landing. Meanwhile, those in the rear just observed. One of the young men, surprised by the formation choice, commented, he's strong, and he only brought 3 experienced scouts with him. Another whispered, I want to fight too. However, the protagonist remained silent, eyes fixed on the battle. One soldier advanced firmly. With the spear in hand, he spun the shaft in the air and struck a direct blow. In mid-jump, another warrior pierced the monster from top to bottom with precision and devastating impact. The creature was defeated. The warrior then turned and smiled. It's over! Let's go back! But something began to bother Rue. While everyone returned confidently, he silently analyzed the group ahead. His eyes shone with alertness. Something's wrong with them, he thought. Then he heard his companion say, they're too fast. Rue looked to the side and asked the young man if he knew anything. The boy replied, their speed is strange, and there are too few monsters for a dungeon of this level. We should be careful. Before he could finish his thought, Rue felt a hand on his shoulder. One of the team members forced a smile and said, we'll cover your back, you go ahead. Rue responded with a suspicious look but nodded, confirming the request. As the group advanced through the cave, the tension intensified. In his thoughts, Rue observed, we're surrounded, but what are they planning? Suddenly ahead, a figure appeared. Small, crouched, moving strangely. Something was revealed in the shadows, a bizarre creature with a card-like body and a roulette spinning in the center of its chest. Two men in front laughed excitedly. Ha ha ha, it worked, what luck! Behind them, one of the young men fell to the ground, terrified, stammering as he asked what it was. Rue and the others realized the trap. The boy on the ground, desperate, shouted, I know the enemy's traits, I can help, it's invisible. We need to sacrifice 2 people so it becomes visible. Use me, I'm useful. Rue watched silently. His expression hardened. An invisible monster. Is that why they brought us here? The scene shifted to a recent memory. Nana flopped onto the sofa, exhausted. Today, we found an invisible monster. What a pain. On the other side, Rue asked, what is that? She replied weakly, an annoying monster. It forces people to vote for sacrifices. That strange creature spun in the air like a deadly roulette wheel. Its operation was simple and cruel. Survival depended solely on luck, on the number of spaces drawn. That's why they called it the invisible monster. Until someone made a decision, it remained hidden, impossible to locate. Rue was curious about how the creature worked. So, it plays with people? Is there a countdown? He asked, holding a glass of juice. She said she didn't know because everyone who saw the monster died. Raising the glass and staring at the liquid, she continued, this monster makes people kill each other. She paused briefly and concluded, but some want exactly that. Rue watched her for a few seconds, then broke the silence with a practical question. Does it drop good items? The girl took a sip of juice without saying anything. Rue raised a new doubt. What if you're chosen as the sacrifice? She stopped. Her eyes lost focus and the glass stayed in her hands before answering. You have to kill it. The aberration of a demonic deck revealed its macabre game. Above its head, the number 60 appeared in flames. A countdown. A portrait frame lit up above the creature. 8 explorers, all now marked as pieces in a perverse game. Suddenly, one of the members touched Rue's portrait. The choice was made. We can use the trash skill, said one of the men, laughing contemptuously. Another added, let's go with these 2. As the countdown reached 0, all the others disappeared before everyone's eyes. The evil smile spread amid the creature's glow, and then it roared. A scream tore through the air as its flaming mouth opened wide, ready to devour. The 2 boys found themselves cornered. The youngest ally dropped to his knees, trembling. This is impossible, he stammered. There's no way we can win this. Rue stared at him for a moment and asked, do you want to die? The boy replied in despair, this boss is 3 to 5 times stronger than the Guardian. We don't stand a chance. But before he could finish rationalizing the fear, he was thrown away with brutal force. His body collided with the ground, sliding until stopping while Rue prepared to receive the creature's explosive attack. The silver-haired boy got up with difficulty, coughing after the battle impact. Next to him, the injured companion whispered, surprised, you. But without hesitation, the young man steadied himself on the ground, wielded his sword with eyes burning red, and declared firmly, if you want to be a sacrifice, do it alone. I won't give up, no matter who my opponent is. Then the creature opened a huge mouth full of sharp teeth, surrounded by a distorted and threatening aura. The scene suddenly changed to Misuyasu village. A huge scarlet whirlwind pulsed in the sky, tearing space and dominating the horizon with its chaotic energy. In front of the vortex, Charlie paced silently. Then, walking steadily out of the portal, a shadowy figure appeared. The leader of the 7 Stars group, Kazami Shun. The man known as Tenkin finally took the stage. Charlie approached, ready to ask him something, but Kazami, organizing his weapons, replied, Tsuyoshi was sacrificed. The man walked toward him saying he wasn't strong enough as a captain, which raised a question in Charlie. What happened in the DG? The man explained, it was an invisible monster. We refused to choose a sacrifice, so Tsuyoshi stayed behind. Kazami listened and simply said, I understand. Then he asked, just to be sure, what about Tsuyoshi and the book? The man answered firmly, I destroyed it. It was the safest thing to do. Charlie took a deep breath, ran his hand through his hair and murmured, already tired, honestly, why am I always the one who ends up confirming these things? He lit a cigarette and said thoughtfully, I need to check the process no matter who carries it out. Please understand, the lucky child is humanity's greatest threat. The lucky child cost 4 S-rank lives and 17 A-rank lives to become a powerful assassin. Then he added, Tsuyoshi is strong. If he becomes that lucky child, I won't have a choice. I'll have to eliminate even one of the 7 stars. After some time, one of the team members approached and announced, Captain, it's time. Kazami ordered, tell the boss that the greatest danger inside that dungeon may not be just an S-class monster. He adjusted his jacket and finally said, I received this letter. It said that Shining Light was revived. Charlie was surprised. His eyes widened, and the cigarette almost fell from his lips. The battle against the invisible monster raged relentlessly. At the center of the fight, the protagonist kept a firm guard, parrying attacks with precision. The strikes came from all directions, fast, lethal, but he reacted with sharp reflexes, narrowly dodging or blocking with his blade already stained with energy. In one of the blows, the creature appeared with its mouth wide open, trying to surprise him, shaking its tentacles and preparing for a new attack. Rue managed to dodge but lost his balance in the process and was thrown to the ground. Breaking with his own body and regaining posture, he advanced again. He was right. The power of this thing is absurd. But if it really were 5 times stronger than the previous Guardian, I would already be dead. Then he concluded, eyes fixed on the creature. In other words, it's playing with me. The creature smiled wickedly as the protagonist realized he was being manipulated. He firmly grabbed one of the tentacles, was quickly lifted and analyzed. The fact was the creature could easily extend its limbs, causing a great disadvantage in ranged combat. Moreover, it hadn't even moved from its spot. Realizing this, Rue had an idea. Could its weakness be precisely that? Its inability to move? Then he freed himself from the tentacle he had held, planted his feet firmly on the ground, approached the creature even closer, and skillfully pierced its body. He smiled briefly, thinking, looks like it's working. The blade went deep, hitting the spot between the monster's teeth. But at that moment, his expression changed, aware something was wrong. The creature's teeth broke the blade of his sword. Immediately after, one of the tentacles grabbed his foot, leaving him upside down, suspended in the air. The following blow was brutal. The creature threw him as if he weighed nothing, and he crashed hard against the ground. His body fully felt the impact, his eyes widening as he screamed in pain. His companion was in complete shock. He couldn't understand why Rue kept fighting, why he didn't give up, since there seemed to be no chance of victory. What came next could be tragic. The creature's tentacles began to coil around Rue's body. Then he was suspended in the air like a puppet with no strength to react. The creature stared at him, opening its mouth with huge, sharp teeth, salivating at finally having its prey. Rue had no strength left. He believed this was the end, and in his mind, he knew this was how he would die. His memory took him to Nana, who extended her hand with a gentle smile, calling him to come home. He reached out, ready to accept that moment, but the image faded, and we are taken to the past, 4 years earlier, in front of a silent grave. The 2 younger siblings stood before the tombstone decorated with flowers. 1 month earlier, Kasumi Ikoma had lost her life in a dungeon, trying to save Enji. On the tombstone was a picture of the couple, Kasumi and Ikoma Enji. They were a great couple. She always took care of him to keep him from falling into depression. The protagonist looked at Nana, who held the pain in her chest, then said, "It wasn't your fault, Nana." She, with a trembling voice, tried to answer, "I know," but tears fell from the girl's eyes as she continued, "Since Ikoma died in the line of duty, I've lived in fear. What will I do if one day my brother dies too?" Rue was moved by those words. However, she changed her stance, wiped her tears, and lifting her head firmly said, "I'll do my best for you, brother. You're my life. If my brother dies, there's no point in me living." She took a deep breath and declared with conviction, "I know you want to become an explorer, but as long as I'm alive, I won't let that happen." The brother watched her silently, then ran his hand through her hair and said kindly, "It's okay, that won't happen, so don't worry." She asked quietly, "Don't you hate that?" He smiled. For him, it was fine because she was the most important person. This memory was brutally interrupted when Rue's companion suddenly found courage. He gripped his sword tightly and ran forward, shouting, "Ah, here I go!" The attack hit directly, but the sword also broke at that moment, failing even to scratch the creature. Rao, powerless, glanced sideways at his companion. The young man trembled, completely scared, staring at the broken sword. The monster counterattacked swiftly. The force of the blow threw the dark-haired boy against the wall, causing a huge explosion of impact. His body fell to the ground, powerless, unconscious. The creature then turned back to Rue, opening its mouth again and sinking its teeth mercilessly into his body. The scream of pain was immediate. A thought crossed his mind. I can't die before uncovering the truth behind Nana's death. This goal took over all his willpower, making him grip the creature's teeth with his own hands, but it wasn't enough. The bizarre creature bit again, this time in his neck, but Rue was already determined that nothing and no one would stand in his way. He faced the creature with his red, intense eyes, repeating to himself several times that he wouldn't lose, that he didn't want to die, at least not in a place like this. Suddenly, he gathered all his strength and bit the creature's tentacle with his own teeth, which screamed immediately. Rue's force was so immense that with his own teeth he managed to cut what even his sword couldn't. Right after, he fell to the ground. Proudly, he swallowed the piece still in his mouth. In front of him, the creature began to distort into red pixels, completely disintegrating. Moments later, the monster was nothing but floating fragments disappearing before his eyes. Sitting, exhausted and wounded, Rue watched the enemy's remains slowly vanish. He murmured, panting, "Did I hit it? Did I manage to hit the core?" Between coughing up blood, he lay on the ground and smiled bitterly. Sorry, Nana." At that moment, a shimmering green light began to spread around, illuminating the surprised face of the young man. Shocked, his eyes widened. Before him, a blue panel floated in the air, emitting glowing codes. He was startled to see the text forming before his eyes. Obtained. Hyper Heal Low Spec. Special one-time use passive healing item that activates automatically. In disbelief, he reached out and touched the panel, wondering what it was. The system screen displayed a new achievement. Skill obtained, X reuse. Rao remained lying on the bed, staring at the screen, recalling that he had obtained that skill on the day he faced the creature in the dungeon. He had been researching it for some time, but still didn't know what the skill did. The notification only said that he had no associated skill, which didn't explain how it had been activated. Sitting up on the bed, a little frustrated, he murmured, "I'm so weak. I still have to rely on miracles." Shortly after, his phone vibrated beside him with a call from Koji-san. Answering the call, he replied that he was already on his way. At the building entrance, Koji waved happily when he saw him and said, "Rao, this way." They were with a work team, and a large portal remained open in the background. The protagonist approached, apologizing for being late, but Koji replied, "We're not ready yet. Have a seat for a bit." Somewhat worried, Koji asked how Rue's wounds were, but he assured him they were much better. In his thoughts, he added, "I'll be fully healed in a few days, thanks to Hyper Heal." At that moment, Koji lowered his gaze and commented, "Most people in the dungeon are kind of useless. You need a fixed team of reliable people to become a combat explorer, but all the famous explorers already have groups." Rao tried to respond, but was interrupted immediately by a woman. "Support in the rear, it's time to work." The group began moving toward the portal. While walking, Koji mentioned that work was the priority now and that they could talk later. Upon crossing the portal, they all found themselves in a vibrant environment full of colorful vegetation. Koji observed, surprised, "This is..." Rao, noticing the reaction, asked if something was wrong, and Koji explained, "This is a resource-rich dungeon with a relatively low-risk boss, but it's not good to stay too far in the rear." Nearby, an excited miner shouted, "It's a Shiumdake! What luck!" Koji noticed the altered expression of a colleague ahead and commented, "Look, it's not fatal, but collecting those things is hard work." Supporting Rao, he continued, "If I had known, I wouldn't have called you." Rao replied calmly, saying there was no problem and that everything was a learning opportunity. While picking a strangely looking mushroom, Rao murmured in thought about how many weird things there were around. Koji, who was beside him, noticed the protagonist analyzing something and quickly responded that it was useless. Further ahead, the short-haired black girl approached. "Koji-san, we defeated the enemy. Leave these two to clean up. We'll look for food." He just nodded, understanding the request, then turned to Rue, saying they were going in. Rao, holding one of the red mushrooms he had collected, suddenly gasped as he saw it disappear before his eyes. Intrigued, he started looking at his own fingers. Confused, he looked around and began to notice some tiny creatures around the glowing mushrooms. While the others moved away, Koji-san called his attention. "What are you doing? Let's go." Rue was still thinking about what he had dropped, but soon followed. After some time, the group had defeated a creature there. The body of a monster resembling a giant human, covered in mushrooms, fell violently to the ground. The woman with tied-up hair and a red blouse approached Koji and said, "I'll heal the wounded. Please clean this area." Koji accepted the task and started working. They had been there for about 20 minutes when Rue, holding a strange carrot, began reflecting. So the dungeon environment decides what grows in it. The last dungeon had many minerals. Here it's only plants. Quickly, Rue filled a box with mushrooms and walked toward Koji, who said it was time to return and that he had gathered enough. The protagonist just replied yes. As he took a step, Rue bumped into something on the ground, which made him lose balance, dropping some mushrooms from the box and falling to the floor. Trying to get up, he accidentally leaned on the defeated creature's body, which began to shimmer. Moments later, the body started disappearing before everyone's eyes, who were completely shocked. Koji explained that there was 1 minute left before the DG closed and didn't understand why the monster had vanished. However, not wanting to prolong the situation, he turned to the novices and asked everyone to leave the area. Not much time had passed when they crossed the portal, and Rao quickly ran off, saying, "Koji-san, I have something to do, so I'll go back first." Though surprised, the man understood and said he would transfer the reward as soon as it was paid. In the following days, Rue analyzed the system screen, which showed that he had obtained a flexible mycelium and that there was an unread message. For the protagonist, that meant there was no time for investigation, but he was surprised to see the notification was about mushroom decomposition. Surprised, he murmured to himself, "Monster corpses and black currants are worthless, so I can use X-reuse to break down trash and turn it into items." He squeezed his own hand excitedly. "If I'm lucky, maybe I'll even get a skill. If I use this right, I can manage on my own." But at the same time, something troubled him, making his eyes widen before the screen in front of him. Rue paused for a moment and thought, "But I don't have the strength to protect myself. If someone else finds something this good, I'll be exploited. What should I do?" Now aware of his skill, Rue understood he wasn't strong enough to enter a DG alone, but his advantage at the moment was being able to touch monster bodies if he stayed only in the rear. His biggest concern, however, was being caught using the skill. Crossing his arms, he told himself, "I have to use it without attracting attention, but it won't be easy every time." Thinking this way, he had a great idea. "That's it, I can try this plan, but it might bother Koji-san." He paused for a moment, then filled with confidence again, saying, "No, I'll go ahead. I'll use this skill to pay Koji-san little by little." Meanwhile, oblivious to the whole situation, Rue's former partner, the timid young man who had almost died in the dungeon, remained injured, staring out the window with empty eyes. His name was Yasukage Kazami. Suddenly, a serious man entered the room and approached, staring at the wounded young man. Firmly, he questioned him about why he had argued with their father and why he had ended up in a dungeon. Yasukage, showing growing tension, replied, "This is my life. It has nothing to do with you, brother." The man's response was straightforward. "I understand. If you want to risk your life and do whatever you want, I will respect that. But if you still care about your family, value your life." Then he turned to leave, but before going, he left an important piece of advice. Being an explorer is not the only thing in life. The young man, on impulse, asked his brother to wait, and with coldness in his eyes and words in his eyes, demanded with all his strength, "I want to leave the Kazami family." In the following days, Rue didn't waste any time and quickly returned to his training. He was on the pull-up bar, pushing his arms and torso harder, while various thoughts about his skill passed through his mind. He knew that to recycle and dismantle more monsters, he would need Koji's cooperation on 2 points. The first was to create multiple fake identities and alternate them with his real identity. That way, even if he made a mistake, the risk level would decrease. The second was to convince Koji to buy a dungeon. Even a rank D forest was richer in resources than a rank C desert. The items produced in a dungeon depend on the environment, and that's why some explorers sell dungeons. But if you don't use a trustworthy buyer, it's easy to regret it later. They needed someone with wide connections and trust. Moving with effort on the bar, he murmured to himself that this was exactly what he wanted and needed. Suddenly, something caught his attention. His gaze shifted to the side, surprised to see Yasukage staring at him excitedly. Rao jumped off the bar, falling to the ground and quickly wiping his sweat, asking who he was. Scratching his head, the boy replied, "My name is Yasukage Kazami. You helped me before when we entered a dungeon together. Do you remember?" It was clear Rue remembered. But without making a fuss, he simply asked if he needed something. Yasukage then went straight to the point. "Can I go on adventures with you?" This confused Rao, but the young man quickly explained, "You didn't give up even facing impossible enemies, right? I want to be like you. I'm not strong, but I'll do my best." Firmly, Rue replied, "If you came here, it means you investigated me, didn't you?" But Yasukage's goal wasn't to offend or put him on guard. The reality was completely different. For Rue, however, that didn't matter. He turned his back, saying, "It makes no sense to follow someone like me without skills. Go home." As he walked away, he recalled the creature they had fought. Technically, he knew Yasukage had helped him, so for him, they were even at that moment. Still, something bothered him. "I don't like people who give up so easily like him." Then he turned around, emphasizing more seriously, "Don't follow me. Don't come see me again." He ran off, leaving the young man shouting for him to wait, but in vain. Yasukage, on his part, told himself internally that he wouldn't give up. After a while, the protagonist met Koji in front of a dungeon portal. His friend commented, "I tried several sources, but lately no one is selling dungeons." Rao was curious about why this was happening, and lighting a cigarette, Koji replied, "Who knows, but apparently the spawn pattern of dungeons is changing. That's information I fought to get." Rue asked if dungeon appearances shouldn't be constant, but Koji gestured, saying there's nothing that never changes. Finally, he commented, "If this information is true, I wonder if it's good or bad for humanity." When Rue was about to continue speaking, something caught his eye. Yasukage was there, waving happily at him. Koji noticed that the boy had been following him for almost a month and asked who he was. Scratching his head, Rue explained they had done a mission together, and since then he hadn't stopped following him. Koji laughed, jokingly calling him popular because of that. Rue approached Yasukage and asked, "What's your real goal? Saying you want to adventure together won't work forever." The boy tried to justify himself, saying it wasn't a lie, and that he really wanted to go with him because he admired him for being strong. Rue pointed to himself and retorted, "Are you serious? I've said many times, I'm just a rear scout." Sighing, he put his hands on his hips and continued, "You're not an ordinary person, right? I'm sure you have many others to go out with. Stop wasting my time." But Yasukage insisted with conviction, "I've seen many strong people before, but I've never seen anyone attack an enemy with everything in a desperate situation like you." Joining his hands in front of his body, he declared, I want to become someone like you." The sincerity unsettled Rao, who didn't know how to respond. Yasukage then continued, "Because of my personality and abilities, I'm always compared to my older brother, but I hate that." Rue watched him, trying to understand who his brother was. The revelation came like a snap in his mind. "Wait a second, don't tell me his brother is—" At that moment, he remembered Nana. She smiled excitedly with a paper in hand, saying, Look, it's a photo of the 7 stars, cool, right?" Rao took the photo, observing it as she said, "Yes, Fischl kept saying she wanted to take one, so we took it when everyone was together." In the picture, Yasukage's brother was present. Surprised, Rue asked, "Your brother is Shunshun Kazami?" And the young man confirmed. Rue had heard that he had a younger brother, but never imagined it was him. Their personalities were completely opposite. He then wondered what kind of upbringing the Kazami family provided. He took the moment to say, "I'd love to fulfill your wish, but I just want to live a peaceful life. I don't take younger brothers or partners who need help." Yasukage wanted to insist, but Koji called him at that moment, saying they had pending work. Rao said goodbye and refocused on what he really needed to do. As they entered the dungeon, they came across a huge monster full of tentacles like a giant squid. "How the hell am I supposed to collect something like this? Today is my daughter's birthday, so I need to get back early," Koji said, lamenting how long this might take. Rao, with a gentle smile, commented, "There doesn't seem to be anything important. You go ahead, I'll take care of the rest." Koji placed a hand on his shoulder and thanked him. "All right then, I'll leave it to you. I'll buy you a meal next time." Rue prepared to put his skills into practice. He crouched down, saying to himself, "Last time we only got common materials. I'm counting on this one." He placed his hand on a part of the creature's body and quickly it began to deteriorate, disappearing while displaying a new message. Acquired 3 dried octopus tentacles, 1 damaged octopus skin, acquired 1 bronze body. Note, this skill can increase physical durability. Rue seemed satisfied with the result. If he trained with it combined with defensive arts, his physical durability would increase significantly. Then something unexpected completely surprised him. A voice echoed in the cave, making the protagonist freeze. A man had entered and questioned, "It's not time yet. Why are there no monster bodies? What did you do?" Rue turned quickly, hiding his sword and saying, "Huh? The corpse had already disappeared, hadn't it?" Of course, the man didn't believe him. He showed his watch and replied, "Are you kidding me? I timed it. Spill it already." Rue swallowed hard at that moment, wondering what kind of excuse there could be for a monster to disappear earlier than expected. Was there anything he could say to convince him? Even if he believed it, would he be satisfied? Then the man advanced toward him, holding a sword and with burning eyes. Rue tried to keep it light, justifying, "I just got here too, so honestly I have no idea what's going on. The dungeon is about to close, so let's get out of here first." The man didn't want to hear anything else and simply struck him in the face with all his strength, making blood flow immediately. "Are you joking with me?" he shouted. "Hey, I saw the monster die with my own eyes 10 minutes ago." He grabbed Rue, threatening, "This is your last chance if you still don't talk." Suddenly, something hit him hard. Rue had stabbed the man in the belly while he was still cursing him. Right after, he punched him in the neck, making him fall to the side. With the body lying there before him, covered in blood, Rue pulled out the bloody sword and said, "I gave you the chance to back down." The wounded man could still see Rue slowly walking away before taking his last breath. "It can't be. That rumor was true," was his last thought. After some time, Rue returned home. He kept cleaning himself non-stop, trying to get the blood off his hands. He stared at his dirty face in the mirror, still in disbelief, but soon smiled maniacally and murmured to himself, "Murderer, murderer." The mirror broke instantly as Rue punched his own reflection while saying, "A murderer, huh? In a world where no one even knows if the law still works, killing is nothing unusual. Killing is still killing. I won't make excuses, but I won't let anyone stand in my way." Then he threw the paper he was cleaning himself with into the trash. A month had passed and Ro was leaving the dungeons carrying crystals. A man from the team waved, saying, "Rao, took your time, huh? I thought you got stuck in there. Rue explained he had twisted his ankle a bit, which explained the delay. Another laughed and commented, "Ha ha, take care, man. If you get hurt, it's us who get screwed. Could you hand over the collected items to the explorer? Since I'm in the tent." Rao just nodded with a gentle smile, but as he walked, he still heard the conversations. "You're going to let the guy go alone? We haven't even told him everything yet." The other replied, "It's fine. You're new, so you wouldn't know, but Rue is a good guy." A third confirmed, "He does anything you ask. He's honest to a fault, would never steal anything. People fight to work with him, line up for the chance." Right after, one of them slapped the head of a companion, saying, "Then stop messing with Rue all the time. Even Buddha only forgives 3 times, you know." The young man scratched his head and answered, "There's no way he gets angry, but I heard he's Shining Light's older brother." Somewhat surprised, the man said he didn't believe he could be her brother. If that's true, there's no reason for him to work in a crappy place like this for peanuts. The friend agreed but pointed out something important. "I haven't heard Shining Light's name for a while. Maybe something happened." Rue was walking through the streets with his market bag as usual. He let out a long sigh passing an alley and then said, "How long do you plan to follow me?" He was referring to young Yasukage, who tried desperately to hide. "I'm hiding perfectly. There's no way he can see me. He must be talking to someone else." But suddenly Rue put his hands on the boy's shoulders, startling him. "I'm talking to you." Yasukage took a few steps back, completely panicked, losing spatial awareness and bumping his head against the wall. With a huge bump, he bent over in pain while Rue thought, "For someone so cowardly, you sure know how to follow people?" Yasukage asked how he had noticed his presence, and Rue replied, "You call that hiding? Stop it, this is a warning. If you keep following me, I won't hold back." Yasukage wouldn't give up and once again insisted on having just one chance. Rue didn't answer. He just turned his back and walked away, leaving the young man alarmed. Still, Yasukage decided to follow him, saying, "Lately, I realized I'm actually useful." Rue asked what useful things he could do and quickly added, "Honestly, I don't see any value in you." Yasukage revealed he could sell the items for him. That information surprised and made Rue wary. In a cold, intense tone, he asked, You investigated, didn't you?" Yasukage tried to calm him. "It was just by chance. I only realized you were selling something. I have contacts, and I won't interfere more than necessary. It will definitely be useful to you." Rao thought for a moment. He's not strong, but he has enough value to compensate. If I keep selling alone like this, someone will eventually notice. Maybe partnering with this guy isn't so bad. Suddenly, the whole environment shook and a strong explosion caught their attention. Both looked up as Yasukage said, alarmed, "Wasn't this supposed to be a safe zone? Why was there an explosion?" At the top of a building, 2 figures faced each other. One of them was Yasukage's older brother. Shunshin Kazami kept a serious look. Yasukage's brother was on top of a building, facing someone in a mask and a hood, who was floating in the air. Smiling, the masked person said he didn't expect to find such a big fish. Without a word, Shun extended his hand, launching an energy strike that passed through the enemy. The young man, who was hiding colorful hair under his hood, managed to dodge it, only his hair was cut. Surprised by the attack, he questioned if Shun didn't want to know who he was. However, with a cold stare, the answer was firm. "None of that matters." The hooded young man complained, dissatisfied, "I'm a flashy villain making a dramatic entrance. Cooperate with me since I'm already here." In response, Shushan extended his hand, creating a circle of energy that transformed into a shadowy sword. Holding the sword with lightning coursing through its structure, he declared, "I'll eliminate you first and cooperate later." Seeing he had no choice, the hooded young man extended his hand, creating a sphere of fire. The 7-star Tekken advanced without a word, raising his sword. In response, the young man just blew the fire sphere in his direction. Shun swung his sword trying to parry the fire sphere, but upon hitting it, it exploded into a curtain of fire and smoke. However, the sword went through the curtain, advancing toward the hooded young man. Showing his strength, the young man held the tip of the sword with his fingers, joking, "Oh, how scary. It looks like you're really ruthless." Before the young man could realize it, a second sword attack came at his face. Gritting his teeth, he leaned back, successfully dodging. However, the blade still slightly hit him, leaving a wound. Now, with 2 swords, Shun showed he wasn't playing around. With half of his mask broken and a wound on his cheek, the hooded young man smiled. "Oh, a 2-sword duelist. That's great information." Indifferently, Shun replied that he was happy he liked it. With a delighted smile, the mysterious young man showed how excited he was getting. The confrontation continued, while Yasukage and Rue watched. Yasukage tried to run to the building where his brother was, but Rue held his shoulder. "What are you planning to do?" Yasukage wanted to rush to help his brother. However, Rue's words were harsh. "And what are you going to do? bravely throw yourself into danger? Rue advised the young man to prioritize his own life if he truly cared about his brother. Staring at the sky, Rue saw how the villain withstood his fight against Shun, the strongest of the 7 stars, which made him wonder who he could be. Rue took out his phone to film the young man in the white hood. Worried, Yasukage asked if all he could do was watch quietly. Unexpectedly, he saw Rue start to move, and when he asked what he planned to do, he heard the mysterious answer, "I'll do what I can." Yasukage followed Rao to a building. Upon opening a door, Rue said goodbye. "I will think about your suggestion and contact you when I make a decision. See you later." Yasukage tried to rush to follow him, but the door was slammed shut in front of him. The young man fell to the floor, getting hit in the face, crying because he thought he could also get in. Rue passed the images to the computer, running an analysis program. Soon, the video he recorded was played on the screen. Analyzing the images, Rue revealed surprise at finding something. On the young man's cape who was fighting Shun, there was a small drawing, a cat in a suit. Sending the image to a certain person, Rue called, asking them to analyze it. 30 minutes later, Rue received a call from Yu. As soon as he asked if the person had found anything, Yu yelled, "I wouldn't have called if I hadn't found anything." Irritated, Rue told the other party to hurry up. Soon the information came. That was the mark of an A-rank independent adventurer, Komori Toa, based on his pet cat. However, Komori had lost his life a few months ago. The choice of words confused Rue. The information was completed. This didn't happen inside a dungeon. He was actually found outside an A-rank dungeon in a horrible state, and they still haven't discovered who did it to him. Curious, Yu asked where he had seen the emblem and warned him, "I don't know where you saw this, but stay away from whoever is wearing it. That's clearly a battle trophy." Confused by the term, Rue asked what Yu meant. While on the phone, Rue walked to the window, watching the hooded man run away. Alerting him that a battle spoil was a symbol of victory, there was no better way to explain the term. Wondering if there were any leads, Yu smiled on the other end. "I'll tell you if you ask nicely." Yu eventually heard the request in an icy tone. Annoyed by how boring Rue could be, he revealed that taking other people's emblems and using them as a trophy was something only the cruise group did. The only thing they knew was that he referred to himself as Z. As Yu talked, the red-haired woman in front of him told him to put it on speaker so she could listen in. Yu was surprised to hear that Rue knew this strange organization, and Rue eventually revealed that Nana had mentioned them. Since Rue already knew something, Yu stated that this was an international group with a complicated, yet extremely unified structure. As Rue fell silent, Yu questioned him. "You're thinking of investigating them, aren't you? Don't do it. Unlike before, you won't have anyone to protect you." Realizing the mistake of intentionally mentioning Nana, he went silent. Rue asked him how much he knew, telling Yu not to lie. With his head down, Yu revealed that Nana's situation had already reached some circles, so it would only be a matter of time before the public found out. Rue asked Yu how he had found out about the matter. Immediately, the red-haired woman placed a card on the table, and upon reading it, Yu replied, "From the Daisy Trading Company. But don't get me wrong. Of course they trade information, but they're not the type to sell something like this. I heard a rumor, and I forced their president myself to tell me." Apologizing for asking so much, Rue asked Yu to continue collecting information about the cruise organization while staying out of harm's way. Yu asked what he would do, and, while looking at the pictures of his sister on the wall, revealed that he would move as soon as the news was leaked. As Yu tried to compliment Rue's calmness during the situation, Rue just hung up the call. Touching the photo where Nana was smiling happily, Rue made a point to himself. He had already started preparing when he found out that Juji might have leaked the information about what happened to Nana. He never thought the association would go so far to cover it up. Relieved that they weren't trying to use what happened to Nana as bait for business, Rue showed an irritated look at the possibility of it happening. At the association's training center, Rue continued to defend himself from the machine's punches. Defending against two, he faced one head-on, paying attention to the one attacking him from the side. Against the second, he was still hit on the shoulder. Retreating quickly, he tried to regroup. However, the two machines had already closed the distance, cornering him. Charlie was still pleased with his movements and applauded. "You're getting sharper than before." Wiping his sweat, Rue attributed the success to the coach, who told him not to be so modest. Charlie recalled that he had only been there a few times for training. Pointing to the dummies, he pointed out that normally someone like the young man, even with talent, wouldn't be able to handle 2 training robots in such a short amount of time. Although he didn't want to pry, Charlie curiously asked why Rue was there. He knew it wasn't to train, as he wasn't that stupid. Rue fell silent upon hearing the question. Seeing that he wouldn't answer, Charlie prepared to leave before warning, "Let me tell you about Kazami Shun." This time things almost went wrong. Sitting on the stairs, Charlie called Rue to do the same. As evening fell, Charlie revealed that Shun had almost destroyed Meiku City. The shock on the boy's face amused the coach. He may seem calm, but when he gets into action, he loses control. His fight against the white robe was what pulled the trigger. Lighting a cigarette, Charlie revealed that the guy in the white robe had been the first to push Kazami to such an extent. Looking at the sunset, Charlie stated that the young man must have already heard from Yuko that Kazami was the strongest among the 7 stars, but he said that this only applied if he wasn't restricted. Smiling, Charlie revealed that among all the 7 stars, Kazami was the only one with a limiter, because if they let him act freely, he would become a crazy machine. Thinking about the 7 stars who used to be ranked by strength, Nana was in first place, at least on paper. But at the same time, they claimed that Kazami was the strongest. Curious, Rue asked the coach why he was giving so much information. Confused, Charlie asked if he wasn't there to know about it. As Rue denied it, Charlie understood what he wanted to know about: the white robe. Frowning, Rue stated that he wanted to know who that man was. Charlie asked him to give a good reason to tell him the information. Rue went deep in his response. Nana didn't just perish in some dungeon. You all knew this from the beginning. Sighing, Charlie agreed with him. Standing up, Charlie revealed that he was going to send Kazami to chase him, so he asked him to go back. With a grim look, Rue stopped Charlie from leaving. Mr. Charlie, you always come up with all sorts of plans so I can't hear anything. Falling silent for a second, Charlie stated that he could even tell Rue the truth, but as soon as he set foot in this world, there would be no turning back. What was at the end of this path would bring a tragic end, and that was against his sister's wish. As Rue insisted on knowing, he revealed, surprising the young man, the guy in the white robe is from a new group called the Saints, and the 7 stars are currently choosing a new member. Frowning, Rue asked if they wanted a new member because of the evil group that had emerged. Charlie confirmed his thought, revealing that they had already discovered the group's objective. When Charlie asked him to try and guess, Rue asked, "Do they want to target all adventurers, or just the 7 stars?" Charlie corrected him, reminding him that the 2 things were the same. If they attacked the adventurers, they would eventually face the 7 stars, and if they eliminated the latter first, the rest could be easily eliminated. Curious, Rue asked how they knew the code names of this group if they didn't know their background. Charlie reminded him of how there were always idiotic villains, like in literary works, who proclaimed their names and revealed everything without even being asked. With the hints Charlie gave, Rue asked if this group by any chance worshipped some sacred being. Once again, Charlie confirmed Rue's deduction, adding that such people existed in all eras. With his head down, Rue asked if Yuko had been chosen by one of the 7 stars. Responding with a question, Charlie asked, "You're thinking there's no need to replace Yuko so quickly even with the emergence of this group, right?" Surprised by the question, Rue frowned, asking if the coach thought he was an idiot. Treating the young man like someone with a sister complex, Charlie didn't know when he would snap. Sighing, Rue stood up, stating that to him Nana wasn't just a 7 star but his sister. Continuing to treat him as someone with a complex, Charlie smiled, raising his thumb up. Finishing his cigarette, Charlie assumed a serious look to talk about the 7 stars, the nation's strongest offense and defense. That's why they needed to stabilize the chaos quickly. Thus, he apologized to Rue. Realizing what was going to happen next, a darkly surprised look appeared on Rue's face. He couldn't believe what they would do, but Charlie stated it was the only way. Frowning, Rue warned, "Are you really going to tell everyone? If what happened to Nana goes public, the country will fall into chaos." Grinding his teeth from knowing what they planned, he put into words the plan he had imagined. "So you're planning to select a new 7 star to replace her. That way, to the public, Yuko will still be alive and the rumors about her will seem like a lie." Annoyed by the carefully orchestrated plan, Rue left the training center. Even knowing the pain the boy felt, Charlie yelled at him, "Rue, the Adventurers Tournament has been postponed. It seems that several nations have formed an alliance and are coming to face us." Stopping suddenly, Rue looked annoyed at Charlie, caring even less about what the old coach was saying. "You never planned to listen to me, did you? Then stop this farce." With that, the young man left, while Charlie scratched his head in the face of so many problems. In the following days, Rue ended up going to a forest in the mountains. As he followed a map, since he couldn't go to the association for a while, that was all he had left for training. Having paid a fortune for the information, he was counting on it. Soon he found the portal entrance, praising the Daisy Company for having located it in such a remote place. Upon passing through the portal, Rue found himself in a flooded cave where even energy trees grew. Picking up a small stone from the ground, he threw it into the water. Immediately, a shark full of scars jumped out, attacking the stone. Out of luck, he clicked his tongue. He thought he could train there, but apparently he couldn't. Running quickly, he jumped along the stone path that stretched between the flooded trees. As soon as he reached the middle of the path, the large shark jumped out of the water, trying to bite him. Rao unexpectedly managed to push the shark by the nose, throwing it back into the water and spinning his body over it. Miraculously landing, Rue realized that this was the first time he had encountered such an annoying fish. As he continued running, dozens of sharks jumped out trying to reach him. Despite the escape, one of the sharks found a way to block Rue's advance. However, with a strong punch, the protagonist destroyed it, throwing it back into the water. Thus, Rue managed to cross the stone path and escape the sharks. Looking at the small lake with the sea monsters, he commented, "It's a good thing amphibians don't appear in rank E dungeons, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to deal with so many at once." However, just as he believed he had gotten rid of the sharks, the monsters jumped out of the water. Arms grew on the sharks, which began to walk on land exactly like amphibians. Given the situation, Rue realized the complication he had gotten himself into. A curtain of dust was raised by the strong clash between Rue and the monsters. Soon he fell seated on the ground, able to rest after eliminating the various sharks, relieved that he hadn't been dragged into the water by them. Touching the sharks, he dismantled them, obtaining several bipedal fish meats as well as scales. Finally, Rue obtained an item that looked like an eye and commented, "They say pearls from aquatic monsters are good for the skin, but who actually uses something so horrible?" Having luckily obtained 2 pearls from the several monsters defeated, he walked to the dense forest, which looked more like it was haunted. At the end of the forest, inside the cave, Rue reached an area that looked like a swamp. In the center, there was a flower that stretched out of the water, with a butterfly on top. Looking at the butterfly, Rue understood that it was the dungeon's boss monster. Butterfly-type monsters had high lethality, and their scales caused hallucinations. To Rue, the real danger in facing such a monster would be the poison, if it had any. Trying to attract the butterfly, Rue threw a knife at the monster. Unexpectedly, the butterfly was hit, without even flying away to dodge. The lake began to dry up and the butterfly fell to the ground. At the root of the plant that was in the middle of the lake, Rue found a large, precious stone. Not believing that the butterfly was just bait and that the real threat was the sharks he had encountered earlier, Rue pulled out a new attack tool. He threw the knife at the crystal below the flower's roots, destroying it. Having also knocked down the flower, Rue descended into the hole that appeared with the disappearance of the water. Satisfied that everything had worked out, he tried to decompose the butterfly. However, surprise appeared in his eyes. The item he obtained was called a rare encounter, and its description was ambiguous. An unforeseen encounter awaits you in the future. Returning to the city, Rue continued to train at the park. One training day, he ran into Koji on his way. When he asked what Mr. Koji wanted, the man joked, "Can't I just show up without a reason?" Before Rue could even try to guess what he wanted, Koji revealed that he was looking for a reliable team, which was why he had thought of him. With Rue thanking him for the opportunity, Koji said he would send him the contract later. Koji also had a question to ask. Why are you collecting information about dungeons and monster bodies? To dismantle more bodies, Rue asked Koji about information for sale. However, due to irregular patterns, no one was selling such information anymore. With a worried look, Koji asked him to at least say how this information was connected to Nana. Surprised, Rue asked if he had heard anything about her. Sighing, Koji melancholically revealed that there were rumors that Nana had met with misfortune. Everyone was now gathered at the association because, in addition to the rumors about a 7-star, the dungeon situation was causing concern. Falsely smiling, Rue stated that the association would take care of the matter, and that Nana's mission was about to end. Changing the subject, Koji asked the boy where he had been lately. Rao replied that he had been in training, although he avoided saying that he had trained inside dungeons. Praising how solid the boy's body had become, Koji stated that he still had some things to do, so he said goodbye. Watching the man leave, Rue wondered with a heavy look, if I were stronger, would I be able to bring Yuko back? When he got home, Rue found Yasukage sitting in the hallway, waiting for him. Seeing Rue, the young man hurriedly stood up, welcoming him. Curious, Rue asked if he had waited the whole time. Keeping a smile on his face, the young man replied as if it were nothing. It wasn't long, just 10 days. This time, leaving the door open, Rue let him in. Yasukage excitedly misunderstood the situation. So you're letting me join your team? Asking the boy if he was friendly with everyone, Rue revealed that he was thinking about his proposal. However, he refused to take him to a dungeon, as he was not as strong as the boy imagined. With his head down, the young man asked what he should do then. Hearing that Rue needed a reliable partner, Yasukage asked how he could help in that regard. Raising his finger, Rue asked, I want you to sell something for a long time. You'll get 30% and I'll get 70%. I don't care how you sell it. There's just one condition. Make sure no one finds out I'm involved. Feeling relieved to talk about business, Yasukage stated that he was good at it. Although he didn't need to, for being a 7-star's brother, Rue also said that he would make a training plan for him. However, Yasukage excitedly jumped on him. I need it. Pushing the boy away, Rue told him to go home, as he would be busy now. Exchanging contacts, Rue said he would call him when he needed him, so the boy left excitedly. 7 days later, one afternoon, Rue stopped his car next to a forest. The dungeon information he had bought said it was in the interior. Taking a dirt road, he headed to the first of the 3 rank E dungeons he got information about. High-demand dungeons in convenient locations almost never hit the market. Additionally, changes in dungeon patterns had made the Daisy Trading Company less willing to sell. Arriving at an abandoned cabin, Rue got out of the car. Although he didn't expect much before leaving, he imagined that he might get good news from Kazami's younger brother when he got back. So, walking along the trail on the map, he found a portal. A venomous snake attacked Rue as he was about to enter the portal, but with a knife strike, he destroyed it. Looking at the monster on the ground, he wondered why there was a snake there. Animals normally avoided dungeons. There shouldn't be one near the entrance. However, he soon realized that this could be another change, just like the others that were happening in the dungeons. Rushing to solve the problem of this dungeon, he passed through the portal. Rue found himself in a bamboo forest. The inside of the dungeon looked like the outside world, with only a few slight differences. Walking among the bamboos, Rue was attacked by a sprout that was unearthed from the ground. Hitting his back, the sprout made him trip. Immediately, two snakes identical to the ones he found outside attacked him. Rue cut one of the snakes and grabbed the other with his hand, spinning his body, throwing it against the bamboo sprout that had hit him earlier. Quickly, several snakes and bamboo sprouts appeared. Rue needed to escape, as against a large number of monsters, he would never finish defeating them. When he left the bamboo forest, he noticed something. The snakes and sprouts stopped chasing him, as if he had left the range they could go to. Although sad about having lost the chance to get a lot of material, he continued on his way until he found a cave. Unexpectedly, there was a person inside the cave. Hiding, Rue frowned. A humanoid monster inside a rank E dungeon? Humanoids were the rarest monsters, with less than 100 confirmed since dungeons first appeared. Another reason they were so rare was that everyone who saw them didn't survive. The elf in elegant robes and long black hair stopped reading when he noticed Rue's presence. His gray and gold eyes stared at the young man, questioning, "Have we met before?" Rue didn't understand what the man meant, and, as he didn't see a system notification, he even wondered if this was really a monster or a new being from the dungeons. The protagonist remembered that Nana once told him that there were monsters that forced them to answer questions. The monster's strength would change depending on the answer. If it was wrong, it would get stronger. If it was correct, it would get weaker. The man changed the subject as it didn't matter much and conjured 4 images, movies, and asked Rue to choose one. Rue didn't understand what the man was trying to do or why he wasn't attacking him. Rue didn't even see a health bar. Since he could barely defeat a rank E dungeon on his own, he could only follow what the man instructed. Not choosing immediately, Rue asked if the man couldn't watch all of them, but he wanted to savor the movies slowly. Trying to find a clue, Rue asked what movie he liked. Laughing calmly, the man revealed that he liked all of them. Rue made a suggestion that confused the man. Why not use a die to decide? Taking a die he had with him, Rue stated, "If you can't choose, that's the best way." Curious, the man asked how he used the die. As the only thing he knew was that he would lose in a fight, Rue rolled the die as that was the only option. The die landed on the number 3. Seeing that the selected movie was the third one, the man felt lucky. Oh, that was the one I wanted to watch the most. How lucky. After the choice, the man made the movies disappear and looked at Rue with a smile. Immediately, Rue pulled out a dagger, surprising the elf. Confused, the man asked what was wrong. This time it was Rue who was confused, questioning what he was doing. The man calmly revealed that he was looking for a gift for the young man. While flipping through the book, he asked what Rue would like to receive. Choosing one of the pages, the man tore it out. As the surroundings glowed, he threw it up. "I thank you very much. Here is something for you." The leaf began to change shape, transforming into a golden clock. Making the clock float to Rue, the man commented, "There are good humans out there," although I didn't believe it at first. Creating a new portal, the man disappeared, saying goodbye to Rue. "I hope we meet again." A monster giving a human a gift surprised Rue. Picking up the clock, he looked at its functions. By winding the clock, it would be possible to see his status. Its main function, however, was the following: to nullify fatal damage, something that would make the clock disappear after it happened. Despite that monster being the most dangerous humanoid he had ever seen, Rue felt genuineness in his words. Upon receiving such a precious item, he wondered who he could be. In the capital city of Seiyu, there was a large arena. Yu yawned while watching a fight. He wondered why he was watching a fight between rookies, however. Picking up his phone and seeing that there were 13 missed calls, Yu already imagined that he would receive several complaints. Going to a more isolated place, he called Rue, who yelled at him, "Where are you now?" Revealing where he was, Rue, who was cooking, asked him how much he knew about humanoid monsters in dungeons. Upon hearing the question, Yu, surprised, asked if he had encountered one of these monsters. As Rue insisted on knowing, Yu stated that he was not the best person to talk about them, as they were extremely rare to find. Yu revealed to the boy that even the 7 stars didn't encounter them frequently, and that none of the dungeon records also provided information about them. Dungeon records were rare items that detailed information about the dungeons where they were found. They had 100% accuracy and were highly coveted by humanity. Rao revealed to Yu that he had found one, but that, although it seemed dangerous, it hadn't attacked him. Surprised, Yu hastily asked if he had eliminated the humanoid monster. Confused, Rao asked if there was any problem. Yu explained the reason for his surprise. If my guess is right, that was Litias, a strange humanoid without a profile. No one knows his real name, but he gives out rare items when you find him. You revealed that 5 years ago, a guy had received an item that stopped time for 3 seconds. While Ru asked more about Litias, Yu was surprised by an explosion in the arena. Even Ru was surprised to hear the noise and asked what was happening. Scratching the back of his neck, Yu told him that some rookies were going crazy. He also wondered what the rookies were thinking by acting like this in something as important as the selection exam. Imagining who they were, Ru asked, "Are they competing in the Adventurers tournament?" As he surprised Yu and asked who was hosting the tournament, Ru fiddled with the gears of the watch he got from Litias. He was able to see the monster's profile, age, gender, rank 37, class D, in addition to health points, which reached almost 3,000, attack above 1,100, defense of 2,250, mana currently at 269, and speed of 341. Seeing what looked like stats from games, Ru wondered how the numbers were decided. He then heard Yu's answer, who revealed that, even with the 7 stars present, they had asked him to take care of security. Confused, Ru asked if all the 7 stars were present at the event, but Yu denied it. Only Fischl and North are here. While Caillou Fischl was grinding his teeth at having to watch the event, Tenki North was excitedly having fun. Realizing that there was a big problem in the arena where someone was seriously injured, Yu was relieved, as this would prevent Fischl from exploding with rage. Yu hung up the call, but only then remembered something. We don't normally leak information about Litias because we don't want people to get the wrong ideas. Still, wiping the sweat from his forehead, he thought everything would be fine. In a mansion at dusk, at the headquarters of the Seiyu Adventurers Association, a meeting was taking place. In a room full of bookshelves, Charlie was on the phone. "All right, I'll send it later." When he hung up, he asked the man at the next table if a certain man was still there. The old president of the Adventurers Association, Jugasaki Kai, smiled under his mustache, asking if he couldn't wait a little. Charlie had already been there for 2 hours, so he couldn't wait any longer. He also wished the president would be nicer to someone like Fischl, who was always late. Upon hearing what Charlie was saying about him, Fischl shouted, "Aren't you aware that I was late because I had something to do?" Scratching his head and covering his ear, Charlie mocked, saying he didn't hear him. Interrupting the fight, Kai stated he had 2 requests. To Fischl, he asked him to train the selected participants, and to Charlie, he instructed him to investigate something. Both of their answers were the same: no. Confused, the old man asked why they refused. Putting his feet on the table, Fischl refused to train weaklings, although they were honored for having won the tournament. Charlie, on the other hand, stated that he didn't have the time or skills for investigations, so he was going home. At that very moment, old Kai received a message and told Charlie, "Everything has already been arranged. You will leave in 3 days. Darkly, Charlie asked if he couldn't have a vacation. However, with a deep voice, the old man warned, "That is an order." Receiving the order, Fischl prepared to leave the room, saying, "Then let Alpha take care of this problem." While old Jugasaki Kai laughed at how silly Fischl could be, Charlie asked if he wanted him to train the chosen ones. Changing the subject, he crossed his arms. "Are you really idiots, or is there a deeper reason?" More curious, Kai asked about who had sent the information about Litias. Scratching his head, Charlie accepted the mission, just so he wouldn't have to talk about the subject. Stating that they needed him, Kai asked him to bring back good results. In a mansion garden, 2 people were training fervently. Stopping swinging his wooden sword, Ku looked at the young man who was falling to the ground due to exhaustion. "Have you never trained before?" Breathing heavily, Yasukage stated that he ran every day. When asked how much he ran, he revealed that he covered a few hundred steps. Ru strongly recommended that he train to at least live a healthy life. Stating that he wasn't being lazy, he revealed that he had a severe illness when he was young, which was why he was always weaker. Worried, Ru asked if there was any way to cure the illness. While they sat in a rest area, Yasukage revealed that they had done everything to cure him and had gone on several healing-type excursions. Ru even asked if they had used dungeon items. With his head down, the young man replied, "Dungeon items are pure luck. Also, they stay with the bigwigs. Unless they were idiots, they wouldn't put such items in the reports." Thinking about all the possibilities, Ru asked if there was no one to trade the items with. It was then that the young man replied, "Maybe a monster." Ru imagined exactly who Yasukage was talking about, and the young man's surprising question confirmed his thoughts. "Do you know Liteus?" Pretending he had never heard of such a monster, the protagonist asked if he was some special type. Yasukage commented that apparently Alpha had found this monster once. For some reason, they started a conversation instead of fighting, and the sword she currently used had been gifted by him. Feigning confusion, Ru asked how a monster could be so good. Not knowing how to answer, Yasukage revealed that other people had also found Liteus, and that he not only gave away rare items for free, but also made equal trades. The information that Ru got from Charlie about Liteus didn't mention anything about trades. Remembering the video that had been sent to him, Ru wondered if such a thing had been deliberately hidden from him. Furthermore, from what Yu had said, there were other things he still didn't fully understand. Seeing Ru frown, Yasukage asked if there was something wrong. Changing the subject, Ru asked if it was okay for him to borrow Yasukage's village residence for some time. The young man didn't mind, and seeing Ru walk towards the garden again, he asked if he would train alone. Ru just nodded. Since most of the combat resources were with the association or the guilds, he didn't want to owe anyone by renting, but trying to buy them also seemed impossible. Looking at the sky, Ru sighed, because unless it was extremely necessary, he refused to touch anything his sister had left behind. Half a month later, when he got home, Ru found his door knocked down. As he entered, he frowned, looking around. Unexpectedly, he had to dodge an attack, which only lightly hit him on the cheek. The arrow had been embedded in the wall, and looking forward, he found none other than Fischl von Mistus. Frowning, Ru questioned, "Is this how a 7-star greets people?" Holding the photo frame with Nana's picture, Fischl replied, "You must be Nana's trash brother." Furious, Ru yelled, telling him to return the photo frame. Getting up from the chair, Fischl mocked, "You have no right to have that." With fury in his eyes, Ru stared at Fischl without fear. "I'll say this again, it belongs to me. Give it back to me." Seeing Fischl refuse to return the portrait, Ru was not afraid and attacked him fiercely. However, Fischl easily held his punch and mocked, "Don't be arrogant, weakling." Before Ru could realize it, he had already been thrown against the wall, while Fischl grabbed him by the neck, ranting, "You say you're her brother, but you haven't even visited her grave once. Don't you dare call yourself her brother." The day the photo Fischl was holding came to Ru's mind. On that day, Nana was smiling happily, asking her big brother to spend her birthday with her. Gritting his teeth, Ru summoned strength from within. He pushed Fischl's hand away, trying to attack him from above. The 7-star managed to dodge the attack, but he was surprised, as it was just a feint. Ru hit Fischl with a full-force knee to the stomach. Ru jumped on him, grabbing him by the hair. Ru's next punch, however, was blocked by Fischl, but that wouldn't be enough to stop the protagonist, who attacked from the side with a kick. As soon as Fischl left an opening, Ru retrieved the photo frame, which was his goal. With a grim look, Ru replied, "Who do you think you are to tell me not to call myself her brother? Why do I have to hear that from you?" Releasing the strands of hair he had torn from Fischl, Ru told him to leave. Mockingly, Fischl revealed that he had already been observing Ru. "The last time I saw you, you were the type who got out of breath just by going up and down the stairs." Along with another person, Fischl had observed him and seen how weak he was. Now in front of Ru, he yelled furiously, "Who do you think you are? Now that she's gone, you decide to get stronger? Do you even know what they're saying about her? That she was stupid and tricked by her brother. No way she would help a piece of trash like you." Fischl stared the young man in the eye, grabbing his shirt while ranting, "You ask me who I am? I fought with her and risked my life for her ever since she joined the 7 Stars. I'm the one who has the right to say what I said." Ru couldn't counter his words and melancholically looked away. Stating that he had always been by Nana's side, except for the day of the tragedy, Fischl let go of Ru on the ground and walked to the paintings on the wall, commenting that if he had been with her, none of that would have happened, that he would have protected her. Gritting his teeth, he wondered aloud, why did it have to be on that day? Frowning, Ru questioned why Fischl wasn't with her. Ignoring the question, Fischl looked at Ru with a look of contempt. "Nana used to say a lot that her brother was the best person in the world. I guess she didn't know you were so cold." Cutting off his nonsense, Ru told him not to meddle in their relationship and to either tell him why he wasn't with Nana or to leave. Coldly, Fischl asked what the point was in answering the question. "Are you going to get revenge for her or something?" Getting up, Ru revealed his thoughts. "I don't believe she was sacrificed." Looking at his sister's photo, Ru revealed that Nana possessed an item that allowed her to instantly escape from any dungeon. Frowning, Fischl stated that she would never use the item, but Ru questioned him. She wouldn't use the item or she couldn't use it? Which one? You must know very well that escape-type items don't have very strict conditions. Fischl realized the truth and commented out loud, "Someone must have made it so she couldn't use it." Passing by him to put the portrait away, Ru commented that, based on his sister's personality, she would never use the item to escape and abandon her team. Fischl stated with all his might that there was no traitor in Nana's group. He would bet his own life on it. But Ru thought of another possibility. What if someone used a special item? When someone enters a dungeon, it becomes temporarily sealed. If someone uses a special item to forcibly enter, the boss monster's stats would double. Even Fischl knew the threat. Monsters that could normally be defeated would become extremely powerful. Rue asked him, "The movements of the 7 stars are top secret, so either there's a traitor or the enemy's intelligence is unimaginably good. Which of the 2 options do you think is more plausible?" Rao then asked him to imagine that neither of the options was true, but that Nana was in a situation where she couldn't use the special item to escape. Special sealing items put the dungeon in a lockdown state. They eliminated all oxygen inside the dungeon in 3 minutes. Even destroying the dungeon's core would not be possible to escape. It would be necessary to use a special item to forcibly escape. Given this entire imagined situation, Rue came to a conclusion. Maybe she handed the item over to help a teammate. Fischl was surprised by the possibility he could never imagine, but he thought out loud. "But special items are extremely rare," coldly Rue corrected him. "So what? Compared to the life of a 7-star member, rare items are nothing." Falling to the ground, Fischl revealed what happened that day. "I should have gone with Nana, but then I received a distress signal. It came from a son of one of the higher-ups, a weakling who had no right to enter an A-level dungeon." Melancholically, he looked at Rue, continuing the story. "I investigated afterward, but besides abuse of authority, nothing else was found in the parents' and son's records. Of course, I considered the possibility that Nana was framed and that someone framed another person, but there is no evidence. No matter how much I investigate, nothing appears." Having revealed everything, Fischl asked how Rue could be sure that she had not appeared in battle. Looking away, he replied, "She promised me. She said she would definitely come back." Sighing, Fischl stood up, commenting that he understood why no one cared so much about Rue. Going to a wall, Fischl took the sword wrapped in a white cloth. Removing the cloth, he revealed the sword's red color. He showed the sword to Rue, talking about it. "This is the sword that Nana used. She always carried 2. One is still in the dungeon, so I'll give this other one to you. No, I will return it to you." Holding the sword with a look that mixed longing and melancholy, Rue thanked him. With his head down, Fischl replied, "This is all I can do." Curious, Rue asked if the other members had agreed to give the sword. Irritated, Fischl questioned why he would need permission to return Nana's belongings to her family. In addition to giving him the sword, Fischl also gave a card to Rue. Taking the card and asking about it, Rue saw Fischl cross his arms to reply, "I don't know what you're planning to do from now on, but even if you try to find the truth behind the incident, with your current strength, you won't even be able to find the starting point." Huffing, he remembered Rue's attacks and put him in his place. "I wasn't even trying earlier, so don't think you won or anything." Fischl didn't need to be arrogant for Rue to know that, if he were serious, he could knock him down with one attack. Nodding at seeing that he understood, Fischl stated, "Good that you understood. Now, combat resources are being highly monopolized. I'll have to look for you in Nana's place." Rue always imagined he would like to learn fencing, and receiving the card for the Fuwa Sword Dojo from the master Sho Fuha, he had to thank Fischl for fulfilling his wish. Taking his hat back, Fischl revealed one more thing. Nana's successor has been decided. Immediately, Rue asked who this person was. Arriving at a cafe, Yasukage ran over to where Rue was, apologizing for being late. Revealing that he had just arrived, Rue asked what had happened. Yasukage explained that he had encountered a madman attacking people in the streets. There were no fatalities, but apparently the victim had hit someone on purpose with a car in the past, and that was why the criminal had tried to attack her. Since the young man found it strange that he wasn't surprised, Rue commented, "Ever since dungeons came to be, strange people appear everywhere." Sighing, Yasukage commented on how difficult it was to survive, whether as an adventurer or as a normal person. Changing the subject, he asked why Rue had called him. Getting straight to the point, Rue revealed that he needed throwing knives and equipment that worked with them. Talking about the equipment, the shy young man commented that the Daisy Company would probably have them, but as for knives that could be controlled, he would have to ask around. Satisfied with the answer, Rue heard Yasukage reveal that he wanted his opinion on something. "I'm thinking of founding a guild." Curious, Rue asked if business wasn't going well. Shaking his head negatively, the young man revealed that he was attracting the wrong kind of attention. Since it took 3 people to found a guild, Rue asked if he had anyone in mind. Immediately, Yasukage asked Rue if he would like to join the guild, but the protagonist preferred to avoid the spotlight. Excitedly, Yasukage stated that he would make sure no one noticed him. While smiling, preparing to drink his coffee, Rue noticed something on the television. His gaze caught Yasukage's attention, who also turned, seeing his brother on the screen. On the television were Fischl and a blonde-haired girl. Upon seeing the people on TV, some customers in the cafe commented, "It's been a while since the 7 stars gathered. There were even rumors about Yoko disappearing. But what happened for all the 7 stars to suddenly gather?" Rao's gaze became somber, remembering what Fischl had said some time ago. Fischl couldn't reveal who would take anyone's place, but he stated, "She is the most pitiful and innocent person in the boat." Before going through the door, he also warned, "I won't force a cause on you, not even we, the 7 stars, can change what's to come." Announcing that he would return to the capital, Fischl almost revealed something confidential, but changed the subject. "You'll find out soon in the newspapers. If it frustrates you, get stronger. Strong enough to stand side by side with the 7 stars." Internally, Fischl completed, "And then despair again at your own powerlessness." Worried that Rue would get annoyed with the comments around the cafe, Yasukage calmed him down. Stating that he wasn't annoyed, Rue changed the subject, asking how his training was going. Shyly, Yasukage revealed that he had been busy lately. Ending the conversation, Rao got up, revealing that he would be busy and therefore would only contact him after returning. Seeing Rue leave, Yasukage knew he was annoyed, although he didn't show it. Sighing, he commented to himself, "Well, I would also be annoyed if everyone kept saying my brother was gone." Rue headed to the Fuwa Sword Dojo. While he was training in a corner, 2 men were talking, and one of them asked the other if he knew why the master had brought the young man there. Neither of them knew the answer, but the only thing they needed to know was that the chief instructor himself had brought the boy to the dojo. Confused, one of the men asked why the young man continued to train only the basics for half a month if he was supposed to get strong. Whispering, his friend commented that, apparently, the dojo rookie practiced swinging the sword 20,000 times every day, doing strength training right after. Since someone could do these trainings anywhere, a man asked confusedly why the rookie would choose the dojo to practice. After Rue drank some water, a man in a kimono approached him. Rue promptly greeted him. It was Master Kamada, whom he hadn't seen for some time. Praising Rue's body, Kamada asked if he wasn't upset about having to do only basic movements for 2 weeks. Wiping the sweat, Rue denied it, stating that if it made him strong, he would train the basics more than anyone else. Thinking the young man was being sarcastic, Kamada heard from Rue that he was just repeating what he had said. Sighing, Master Kamada asked if he would continue with the basic training, or if he would move on to the real training. Rue was confused, as he thought he had been ordered to do the basics for 2 months, but the master explained the reason. "I thought you were just some rich kid trying to look cool with a sword." Smiling, Kamada asked the young man to tell him when he made a decision. Greeting the master, Rue replied, "I am looking forward to your instructions." Kamada watched Rue with interest and then turned around. Going to some swords, he commented, "In my opinion, there is a peak to swordsmanship." He threw a sword at Rue, making it pass over the protagonist's shoulders, surprising him. When the sword hit the wall on the other side of the room, Kamada continued, "Speed. If you are faster than anyone, you can win even with limited movements." When Rue picked up the sword stuck in the wall, Kamada asked him to show his fastest attack. Rue raised the sword, imitating what Kamada had done, and threw it at the master. Catching the sword with 2 fingers, Kamada praised, "That was a great attack, full of intent." Dropping the sword on the floor, Kamada let Rue complete the analysis. With his head down, he replied, "But it didn't have enough power. Speed was created with power. Unlike knives, swords were not meant to be thrown, as Kamada had done." Kamada laughed out loud at seeing that the young man understood something. Then he asked if Rue knew what came next. Believing he knew, Rue looked at his stats and commented, upon seeing his 349 speed points, "I think I should dedicate part of my training to speed, not just sword exercises." Seeing the young man walk towards the sword, Kamada asked if he would go the way where softness overcomes hardness. Correcting him, Rue revealed that he was seeking a balance, something stable. With his hand on his chin, seeing that the boy wasn't taking the anxious or arrogant side, he liked the mentality. However, Kamada thought there was something doubtful. Frowning, Rue wondered if some swordsman's instinct had made Kamada notice something. Stating that there were many who fought in a dirty way, Kamada wished that the young man would walk the right path. "I have high hopes for you. Show your gratitude with actions. Take me out to eat sometime." Saying goodbye to the young man, Kamada wished him good work. Before leaving, he remembered a detail and warned that a rich little boy had been looking for him in recent days, advising, "If you don't want to be dragged into trouble, you better hide for a few days until he gives up." Confused, Rue wondered who this person would be. In a rank E dungeon that looked like ruins in a dense forest, Rue used Nana's sword to eliminate a flying lizard. Placing his hand on the monster, he decomposed it into mutant meat and a scorpion tail. Unexpectedly, there was a note on the meat. It read, "Highly toxic, edible, but at the cost of your life." The note made Rue believe the meat was useless. Continuing to defeat monsters, he soon destroyed the dungeon's core. Until now, only rare materials and skills had notes. So even after finishing the dungeon, he wondered what was up with the meat. Monster bodies could not be taken outside the dungeons. In the early days of their emergence, when humans had no experience, skills, or equipment, attacking them was extremely difficult. Running out of supplies was common, and some people even ate monster meat, which caused many explorers to lose their lives. Monster meat was poisonous, and even experienced explorers knew that. So, upon leaving the dungeon, Rue wondered why the system was creating a note for it now. There were only 2 options. Either he was being called an idiot, or his skills had grown. After returning home, Rue received a call from Mr. Koji. Stepping out of the shower, he answered. The man on the other end was yelling desperately, asking for a favor for the next day. Rue agreed to the request. All right, you stay with your wife. I'll replace you in the dungeon tomorrow. Hanging up the phone, Rue looked at his phone screen and then at Nana's photo. And so, the next day arrived. Upon arriving at the dungeon entrance, Rue found Koji's group introducing themselves. The group leader praised him amicably upon seeing him. You look like a rookie, but you seem well built. Stating that it was a rank D dungeon, the man asked if he already knew the rules and requested, don't overdo it, just watch and learn from me. Looking at his watch, the leader realized it was time to enter, so they headed for the portal. After passing through the portal, the group was shocked. They found themselves in a red world, where a mountainous road led to infinity. While the group leader instructed everyone to be careful where they stepped, Rue observed the dungeon, discovering that it was a hybrid type. From rank D onwards, hybrid-type dungeons occasionally appeared, combining two types of dungeons. Explorers hated them because they broke the international consistency of the dungeon world. Looking around, Rue only found robot-type monsters, although they were destroyed, as if they had not been completely merged with the other dungeon. Pointing to the end of the path, the group leader told everyone to check for resources nearby. Scratching his head, a team member revealed the truth. There was nothing there that they could get. After checking the dungeon upon entry, there were only broken robots and extraterrestrial rockets. Nothing they could take away. Annoyed, the gathering group leader wanted to dismantle the robots and ships to take them away, but there was nothing useful in them. Upon entering one of the flying saucer-type ships, a team member confirmed the information. Confused, the gathering team leader didn't see Rue get surprised. Calmly, Rue stated that he had already seen information about these dungeons on the internet. Since everything had already been looted, Rue believed that they would only obtain resources by defeating the boss. Looking at the end of the road and not seeing anything else move, the team leader thought that all the monsters had already been defeated. At the end of the road, the attack group was resting on the ground after defeating a giant robot. A swordsman sighed heavily. He was so strong, was he really a rank D? As soon as they started to rest, they noticed the arrival of the gathering group. While the attack team planned to destroy the dungeon's core, Rue observed them. There were so many people that if he tried to take advantage and dismantle something for himself, he would be seen. While he was surprised to see the boss, Rue saw something happen. The member of the attack team who was going to destroy the core was attacked from behind. Everyone was shocked by the betrayal. The man looked back, gritting his teeth, and muttered to the hooded man, "Why?" One of the team's spearmen yelled at the traitor, "Kaizuka, we're on the same team. Mita even saved you in the past." Drawing his sword, Kaizuka smiled with his thin mustache from under his hood. "And it's because we're companions that I'm putting you out of your misery." In disbelief that this could be the real Kaizuka, the lancer advanced fiercely. Kaizuka dodged the spear strike and, in the next instant, brandished the sword on the lancer's back, destroying him along with the weapon. A tattoo in Roman numerals appeared on that man's face, who tore off his fake skin, introducing himself. "You're not worth knowing my name, but you can call me number 19. Surprised, the team's warrior yelled, "You're from the Abyss?" The gathering team leader protected his men, warning, "I will delay him, so find and destroy the core." He also asked them to protect Rue, as they would not be able to face Koji if something happened to the young man. Surprised by the gathering leader's determination, Rue asked what he would do. With a shy smile, he stated, "I am the leader, and a leader protects the team." After defeating the entire attack group, 19 faced the gathering group, almost forgetting about them. Raising a pickaxe, the group leader yelled, "Wait for the right moment and advance." Yelling fiercely, he advanced against 19, who barely moved, just laughed. Soon, a new expression appeared in his eyes. 19 raised his sword, attacking the man with the pickaxe. The gathering team leader saw his life flash before his eyes. However, unexpectedly, a red sword blocked the attack. Rue had stepped in front of the gathering leader, stopping the blow. 19 commented as he licked his lips, "It seems there is something decent among the trash." Raising his sword, Rue told the team leader to fall back with the others. Stretching, 19 asked if he was done talking and commented, "Are you the type who fights fair? I'm the villain type." Frowning, Rue questioned if he was from the Abyss, which 19 confirmed once again. Rue, however, felt that there was something strange. The Abyss was made up of merciless trash. Their goal was the human trade, and eliminations were only treated as secondary jobs. As Rue began to think about Nana, 19 attacked, snapping him out of his thoughts. He scoffed, warning, "Just because you don't do surprise attacks doesn't mean you can ignore me." Staring at his serious look, 19 mocked, "Filthy insect." Quickly, the combat became intense, sparking with every clash of swords. Hidden, the gathering group watched them. Confused, one of the team members asked why someone so strong was in the back lines. Telling the member to pay attention, the gathering leader warned that they would destroy the core when they saw an opening. After being hit, Rue was forced to retreat using his sword to parry. However, looking up, 19 was already in front of him. 19 attempted a thrust, but Rue impressively dodged, leaning his body back. He didn't stop there, as he lifted his leg, unbalancing the enemy's attack. The protagonist managed to regain his balance and attacked with a wide blow. This time, 19 dodged and, not at all pressured, commented, "You're better than I thought. All right, now things are more fun." Remembering that 19 called himself a villain, Rue warned him, "Villains who talk too much end up being eliminated." The provocation worked, making 19 advance furiously while yelling, "Shut up! Insects like you should be buried in the mud." While Rue was attracting 19 into the fight, the gathering group approached the giant robot with the core. However, as soon as the gathering team leader raised the pickaxe, something happened. The young man next to him celebrated that they could leave, but ended up not noticing 19 running towards them. The team leader noticed the advance and pulled the young man back. Rao immediately pursued 19, falling into his trap. Knowing he would be pursued, he attacked, brandishing the sword backward. However, Rao managed to dodge and launched a counterattack. Looking down, 19 was shocked to see a large tear running from his shoulder to his belly on his clothes. Rue gave no respite, launching a new attack that threw 19 against a rock, knocking him down heavily. The protagonist took advantage of the situation to destroy the dungeon's core. However, before he could tell everyone to leave, the gathering leader yelled, "Watch out!" 19 appeared behind Rue, smiling maliciously. Too quick for you to call that a victory. The sword attack instantly went through Rue. However, the protagonist did not surrender and grabbed the blade. Gritting his teeth to the point of confusing 19, Rue declared, "You're the one who let your guard down." Spinning the sword, Rue attacked 19. However, shock appeared in the protagonist's eyes. Even with his neck pierced, 19 was smiling, mocking maliciously. In the next moment, 19's body became translucent, transforming into energy. In the next instant, he appeared behind the gathering team leader, attacking him from behind, as he had done with Rue. Happy that Rue hadn't fallen instantly, 19 took down another in his place. The protagonist was shocked, understanding that 19 was a user of a special type ability. There were 8 types of abilities: physical, enhancement, magic, defense, control, support, utility, and special. Each type also had its subcategories. Ro's body strengthening ability was classified as enhancement, for example. Among the 8, the special type abilities were the most complex and defied common sense. Rao believed that 19 used the shadow ability, which controlled up to 3 clones, each with 70% of the original strength. Even if 19 controlled only one clone, it reduced Rue's chances of victory to less than 10%. The original 19 smiled, seeing that Rue knew so much. His clone captured 2 other members of the gathering team. While he smiled, "It's showtime." Gathering the 3 remaining collectors, he asked Rue, "Should I keep you or these 3 alive?" The team leader, who still maintained some consciousness, murmured, "Please run." But the scared young people cried, begging for help, wanting to live. As Rue remained silent, 19 warned that he would have 1 minute to decide. Rue looked at the portal created by the destruction of the dungeon's core, but 19 warned him, "Don't try anything funny." A new 19 appeared from behind Rue, whispering in his ear, "I'm watching you very closely." Even with the sight of the 3 men in panic, Rue had in his mind that he still hadn't discovered the truth about what had happened to Nana, and that was why he was wondering what he should do. As time passed, one of the 19 stated that there were only 30 seconds left. The team leader, who had already been hit, raised his head and reassured Rue, We're fine." Annoyed at seeing someone trying to spoil the fun, 19 raised his sword. However, as he tried to hit the gathering leader, another team member jumped in front of the attack, taking the blow in his place. Scared, 2 other team members screamed in surprise. 19 became even more annoyed upon hearing the voices of those he classified as insects and prepared a new attack. At that moment, Rue shouted, telling him to stop. With a smile, 19 asked for his answer. Frowning, Rue decided, "I'll stay, so let them go." Mockingly, 19 asked if he hadn't heard the question correctly. However, this opened an opportunity for Rue to provoke him. "Are you perhaps scared? Don't you have the confidence to defeat me?" 19 pointed his sword at Rue, reminding him that he had even given him an option to survive. Knowing they were less than 10 meters from the exit, Rue also raised his sword. 19 still couldn't believe that the man he had fought cared more about the lives of others than his own. Remembering the decision he had made, Rue stated that although 19 could easily eliminate the team, he wouldn't be able to catch him if he fled. That's why he was convinced of his goal. "You gave us an option to fight each other. You never intended to hurt any of us from the beginning, did you?" He surprised 19 with his final comment. In the end, a copy is just a copy. Annoyed at being called a fake, 19 told everyone to leave, accepting Rue's proposal. With the wounded being carried, the 4 members of the gathering team left the dungeon. Before, the leader asked Rue, "You need to come back alive." Yelling, wanting to find out how long Ru's courage would last, 19 advanced. At the same time, the copy behind Ru raised its sword. The protagonist ducked, dodging both blows at the same time. Spinning his body, Ru destroyed one of the copies with a sword blow. However, his back was exposed for 19's attack. Luckily, he managed to turn around, blocking the attacks that fell on him like a flood. Still, 19 managed to get past Ru's defense with a kick. The protagonist fell onto a large rock and, still in pain, saw 19 approach. Managing to escape, Ru made 19 hit the rock where he was before, but one of the copies blocked his escape route. Ru jumped back, but this only brought him closer to another 19. Surrounded, Ru jumped again, kicking the 19 that was behind him and attacking the one in front of him with his sword. The enemy in front of Ru smiled, provoking, "Is that all you got?" 19 disappeared and in the next instant appeared behind Ru, declaring with a grim look, "This is your end." Ru couldn't dodge this time, and the sword attack hit him in the back. Sequentially, 19 launched a sidekick. Ru flew across the battlefield, being thrown against a structure. A large red stain painted the ground, spilled from Ru's body, which was shaking violently. Powerless, the protagonist fell to the ground. 19 and his remaining copies walked towards Ru, and he commented, "It's been a while since someone got me so annoyed. I'm going to punish him properly." 19 grabbed Ru by the collar of his shirt, dragged him, and released him near the portal. Stating he was merciful, he commented that he would give him one more chance. Smiling maliciously, he offered, "If you can get through the portal, I'll let you go." Trying to extract strength from where he had none, Ru thought of Nana, of his sister's smile. But just as he was about to get up, 19 stepped on his back, pushing him against the ground once again. 19 laughed like a hysterical madman. "Ha ha ha! I thought you weren't afraid. Come on, the exit is right there." Maliciously, he pressed down on the wound on Ru's back. Desperately trying to survive, Ru extended his arm, trying to reach the portal. 19 was about to mock him again when he heard a cold voice. "Excuse me, can you get out of the way?" 19 hastily looked back. There was a young woman in a tattered jacket, asking him to get out of the way. "Please don't block the path, I want to go home." Looking at the girl with contempt, 19 asked if he had forgotten to eliminate one of the insects. Stating that she wasn't an insect, the young woman coldly asked again for him to move. As if he were mocking, 19 stated that he would get out of the way if she could defeat him. When the girl asked if he was telling the truth, 19 confirmed. Sighing, she asked, "You're quite sadistic, aren't you?" While 19 laughed in response, he didn't notice the attack that sliced toward him. In the blink of an eye, what was attached to 19's neck flew like a feather in the wind. The girl approached Ru, bent down to face him, and asked monotonously, "Do I need to eliminate you too to get out of here?" Gathering strength to get on his knees, Ru replied, "I won't stand in your way." Curiously, the girl looked at Ru, confused, and asked, pouting, "Then why aren't you moving?" Quickly, Ru got up, though he was in pain, and thanked the girl for helping him. Although the girl claimed she hadn't helped, Ru asked for her name. With shining shoulders, the girl introduced herself. "I'm Kanatsu. Are you going to invite me to eat by any chance?" "Everyone who asks my name does that." Wiping his mouth, Ru agreed to what the girl wanted, but asked her to let him go home first. While reminding him about wanting to eat meat, the two left the dungeon. Later, the duo went to a steakhouse. Kanatsu hastily grabbed a fork and knife, eating the meat from several dishes at the same time. When she had eaten at least a dozen meat dishes, she looked at Ru with the look of a begging kitten. The protagonist quickly called a waitress, asking for another plate of steak. The waitress, however, had to inform them that they were out of steaks. Asking if there was at least another type of meat, Ru ordered 10 new dishes. Soon a large piece of chicken was served, with a special sauce that made it shiny. Kanatsu even drooled at the sight of such a delicious dish. Immediately, she began to eat the roasted chicken using her own hands. It was while watching the young woman eat that Ru started to cough. From his mouth, a red spit was released. Confused, the girl asked if he wasn't going to the hospital. However, he couldn't, precisely because she insisted so much on eating meat. Stopping to think for a moment, Ru remembered that when he took in Nana, she had shown the same hungry eyes, although she didn't yell for meat. Extending a napkin, Ru asked Kanatsu not to eat so hastily. While the protagonist was taking care of the little girl, he heard a voice. Was she a good girl this time? A man appeared next to the girl, commenting while stroking her head. "You were gone for so long that I thought you had been tricked again." The man with short blue hair and a flowered orange shirt looked at the roasted chicken on the plate and started to drool. "Well, if it's for food, I don't mind being tricked either." Curious, Ru asked the man who he was. Realizing he hadn't introduced himself, he did so. "I am affiliated with Okamoto Kyuka." Ru was surprised as Kyuka was a private organization, the Explorers Association. Since the man wanted to eat, Ru asked if he would like to join them. Drooling with hunger, the man got excited and didn't hesitate. He hastily sat next to Konatsu, grabbing one of the meats. The girl immediately fought with him, but the man himself reassured her. "Let's eat together. If the meat runs out, the big brother in front of us will buy more." As the duo looked at him with gentle looks, Rue was convinced. "All right, you can order as much as you want." Relieved to have money, Rue asked the waitress for 10 more dishes. When a pile of dishes was stacked, the duo leaned back on the bench, holding their bloated stomachs. After sighing with relief, the man asked the young man for his name. Rue introduced himself, surprising the man. Noticing the surprise, Rue asked if he knew him. Wiping his mouth, he commented, "You're Kyuko's brother, aren't you? You're famous in our area." Surprised, Rue asked the man if he really knew Nana. The man ended up commenting in response, "Back then, you were always on television, weren't you? There's no one who doesn't know you." In the middle of the comment, he noticed that Konatsu had started to doze off and noted that it was late enough for them to go home. Picking up the little girl in his arms, the man asked Rue if he would like to go with them. As Rue rejected, the man commented, "Having a certain degree of caution is necessary, but if it's too much, you'll become a lone wolf." In silence, Rue frowned in response. Stating that he would not snoop anymore, the man left the choice to Rue, whether he would follow him or not. Rue ended up following the man to a large building used as a warehouse. Upon entering the place, where there were a few chairs, a table, and some sofas, the man welcomed Rue and Kyuka. A woman left on one of the sofas smelled the meat and got up hastily. The man threw a bag up when he saw the young woman, who jumped, grabbing the bag. Landing on the ground, Yukine, who was alone, began to open the bag while warning, "The others went out to work and some went to look for Konatsu. I stayed at home." Upon seeing boxes of roasted chicken inside the bag, Yukine began to drool. Confused, she asked where the man had gotten money, and he looked at Rue next to him, explaining, "This good big brother bought this for us. He said he couldn't visit empty-handed." A little confused, Yukine looked at Rue, thinking they had met before. Before Rue could realize it, the girl was already in front of him. The young woman touched Rue's face and, as she analyzed it, commented, "Your sister is someone I know." Sighing, the man confirmed the information. Yes, because after all, the genius who stole your position was Yuku Nana. Thinking for a moment, Yukino asked Rue if he was really Nana's brother. Frowning, Rue questioned if she knew him as well. Surprised that he didn't know, Yukino revealed that he was quite famous. Gritting his teeth, Rue asked how he was known. Leech, freeloader, or trash? Yukino corrected him, as Yuku's wrath. Surprising Rue, she revealed that among the 7 stars, Yuku was the most pure-hearted, someone who didn't get angry even when ridiculed in public, someone even easy to intimidate. She recounted a case that had happened. When a man ridiculed Yuku's brother, she eliminated him without even giving him a chance to apologize. As he put Konatsu down to sleep, the man in the flowered shirt concluded the story. Yuku never said anything in private, but after that incident, rumors spread that her brother was Yuko's wrath. While Rue was dejected, not fully understanding, the young woman argued with her partner. "It seems you called me here for me to lend you my power, right? Don't say unnecessary things." Shrugging, the man claimed he was just giving some information, asking her to lower her guard. Observing Rue, Yukino couldn't help but remember how Nana always talked about him as a good-hearted person, but seeing him in person, she could tell that he was completely different. The man in the flowered shirt agreed with her. "When I saw him, I thought there was some filter applied. Worried, always looking for an opening to attack, that kind of feeling." Annoyed, Rue questioned if they were ready to stop deciding what kind of person he was. With a slight smile, Yukino was just stating facts. "For Nana's sake, I'll give you a warning. Think about why she was so strong. It's not just about generously sharing power." Thanking her for the warning, Rue turned to leave. Quickly, Yukino asked if he wasn't even going to treat his wounds before he left, but willing to do it himself, Rue ignored them. When Rue left, the duo looked at each other. The man smiled, asking if he had gone too far. Annoyed, Yukino asked why he had provoked the boy. Shrugging, the man in the flowered shirt claimed that he had tried to cheer him up. While grabbing the bag of fried chicken, Yukino stated, "I might be slow, but I'm not stupid." When she sat on one of the old armchairs, she asked worriedly, "Prices have been rising lately. When was the last time Konatsu ate well?" Remembering how well they had eaten, the man regretted having gotten carried away. Quickly returning to the subject, he revealed that the boy covered in wounds had fed Konatsu, commenting on his thoughts. "I thought he was trying to attract her with meat to exploit her abilities." Seeing how Konatsu slept peacefully, and remembering how she had been fed by Yuku's brother, the man revealed that he had no choice but to accompany him. He remembered that Yukino was supposed to be the best candidate to be the next Yuku, but Yukino harbored no resentment against him or anyone else. He knew exactly her feelings and how she had been worried, otherwise she wouldn't have been so depressed when she found out what happened to Nana. And that was exactly why he had taken Rue to her, so she could meet Nana's family. After a slight argument between the two, for him invading Yukino's feelings, they both wished that Rue would at least listen to the advice they had given him. Despite the pain in his stomach, Rue's walk home seemed peaceful. Halfway there, in front of a restaurant, he saw 3 hungry children looking at the food through the window. Just like everything, these children made him remember Nana. On that day, in front of the bakery, she had sworn that when she grew up, she would earn a lot of money and thus could give her brother a life of luxury. Rue had supported little Nana's dream, the dream of becoming the strongest in the world to make him the happiest person too. Remembering how Yukino talked about Nana made him sigh. On his walk through the park, he felt that he was putting the cart before the horse. Sitting on one of the benches, Rue began to reflect. Since the loss of his sister, he had desperately tried to become stronger to discover the truth. It had only been a few months since he had become an explorer. His experience was superficial, but a deep impression had already been salvaged. There were strategies, conspiracies, betrayals, but among all of these, there were people who risked their own lives to protect their companions. As shooting stars crossed the sky, Rue began to think and ended up remembering something Nana had said. Pouting, she had scolded him for thinking too much. Calling him a passive person, Nana surprised Rue by asking if he didn't trust people. He had become incapable because he had seen too many tragedies. He knew that Nana herself had been through worse things, but she didn't think all people were bad. The young woman with confidence had tried to teach him something back. There are people who maintain their courage no matter the situation. I want to change this world, and that's why I will make an effort, because if more people like me appear, humanity will be able to achieve peace. Nana had asked him to be brave and also to believe in the potential of humanity. With slaps to his own face, Rue erased these memories. He had never answered Nana, but the people he didn't like were those full of tricks. Picking up his cell phone, Rue realized that he had interacted with everyone with suspicion and caution, and, unlike his sister, if he continued like this, he would become a hateful person. The thought that Nana had of changing the world attracted Rue. Despite hating the world without her, even when cornered in a situation of hopelessness, besides hating calculating humans who only thought about betrayals, he swore that he would ensure that Nana's dream was realized. In the end, he asked himself, should I try to believe in humanity too? In a devastated neighborhood where many homeless people were sprawled across the sidewalks, Rue walked with Yasukage beside him. As many watched them, Yasukage became uncomfortable. Stopping, Rue asked if he was surprised by a world he didn't know. Without a reason, Yasukage ended up apologizing, even though he hadn't done anything wrong. Suddenly, a child bumped into Rue's leg. The protagonist held the little boy to keep him from falling, telling him to be careful when walking around. Curious to see the different-looking man, the little boy asked Rue if he had come from abroad. Rue nodded, giving the little boy a chance to continue asking, is the outside world beautiful? Are there many people like you, big brother? Is there a lot of delicious food, too? Seeing Rue nod once more, the boy was filled with hope. That's so cool. Do you think I can become as cool as you someday? Mom said that when I turn 15, I can go out into the world. Encouraging the boy to stay strong, Rue and the youth heard a woman call out to him. The boy quickly said goodbye, running back to his mother. Reassuring Yasukage, stating that none of it was his fault, Rue continued on his way. Soon they came across a fence that divided a very high wall. Rue told the young man to look at the other side, and Yasukage was shocked. There, many people were in an even more critical state. They looked like lifeless zombies waiting for their fate. Young and old people there seemed to be in purgatory. Surprised, Yasukage asked why everyone was there. Pulling Yasukage back, Rue told him to keep his distance. As soon as Rue pulled the boy, a man they had seen ran against the bars, throwing himself at them. The disheveled old man begged in a weak voice, "Food, please, give me food." As they watched, Yasukage asked Rue who was managing the place, if it was the Seven Stars or the Explorers Association. But Rue's response as he walked away was clear. No one can take care of the place. After they sat down in a calmer place to drink water, Yasukage asked Rue why he had taken him to that place. Rue answered with another question. What do you think after what you've just seen? Thinking for a bit, Yasukage revealed that he didn't know places like that existed. Despite knowing that the world wasn't peaceful, he never knew the details, nor did he want to find out. After fighting with my brother and leaving home, I learned what the world is for the first time. Naively, the young man asked if he was being naive. Rue ended up talking more about the place. This was where Nana lived before they met. The association wouldn't tolerate him becoming bad. Besides, before Nana became one of the Seven Stars, the place wasn't so terrible. Despite the young man being naive, Rue reassured him, "It's not your fault. I'm not comforting you, it's the truth. I know the true state of the world more than you, but I never cared." Rue pointed out everything he knew to Yasukage. The country is divided into 4 areas, and this place has lost its value. There's the rich district where you live, the commoners district where I live, and the poor district where we just went. Curious, Yasukage asked about the last district. Revealing that it didn't have a specific name, Rue commented that it was commonly called the cemetery. Confused, Yasukage asked why people were confined there. Rue recommended that he ask his brother and reflect on the answer. Standing up to leave, Rue stated that he would be waiting for the answer. 3 days later, in a wealthy mansion, Shun Kazami opened the door to a dark room. When he turned on the light, he found his brother lying on the floor. Approaching, he questioned if that was a new method of rebellion for Yasukage. Getting up, the young man replied, "You're late. I've been waiting for 3 days." Shun opened the wardrobe, chose an outfit, and asked what his brother wanted. Yasukage got straight to the point. Why do they confine people in the cemetery? I went there the other day and it was scary. Bodies everywhere, and the people who were alive looked more like zombies. In silence, Shun began to change the clothes that hid his scars and soon replied, "They are offenders." Surprised, Yasukage asked what he meant. Putting on pajamas, Shun stated that since the dungeons appeared, the world entered an era of chaos, and the people there tried to take advantage of it. With a severe look, Shun walked up to his brother, asking if he thought the place was cruel and questioned, "How many people do you think lost their lives because of them? In Miyuku City alone, more than 3,000 victims. When there are so many poor people living right next door, why doesn't anyone lend a hand? Is it because they are locked behind iron gates? Is it because they are fighting just to live their own lives?" Yasukage couldn't answer, but his brother answered for him. "The people of the poor district hate those people more than anyone. 23 years ago, behind a large fence that divided a city, many people screamed in fear, begging to be freed and questioning why they were being confined. On the other side of the gates, furious people demanded that instead of being confined, those people should be eliminated from Miyuku City immediately. Everyone there fervently gathered around the government representative, claiming that the people on the other side didn't deserve to live. A little girl next to her poor mother asked curiously why people were being confined. Gritting her teeth furiously, the mother replied to her daughter, "Because they are the trash of society." 30 years ago, 3 years after that, the dungeons arrived on Earth. Upon their emergence, many people gained powers and obtained miraculous items, hunting others and seeking their own satisfaction. On the ground, a fallen man begged to live, but in front of him, holding a kitchen utensil, a man maliciously attacked him. In one of the corners, a small girl held a broken sword. She was breathing heavily, as in front of her was the man who had attacked her. Everywhere, amidst the chaos, people screamed, wanting to survive. In a Rank D dungeon, many beastmen carrying swords and axes destroyed the city and attacked people. Facing the scene, Rue wondered if a reality dungeon was exactly like that. A reality dungeon was created based on the world's history, and everything was exactly the same, except for the appearance of the intelligent creatures. Walking through the place of destruction, Rue understood that it was exactly what the world looked like after the dungeons arrived. Some humans had transformed into beasts. Soon, a beast carrying a sword attacked the protagonist. With one blow, Rue passed through it. However, he soon came across 3 other monsters of the same humanoid type. He advanced ferociously, hitting one of the beastmen and throwing him onto the other 2, knocking all 3 down. Next, Rue approached a little girl and, frowning, wondered if she was the dungeon boss. Looking at a fallen man, Rue questioned if he was being devoured. Somehow, his face seemed familiar. Unexpectedly, the defeated bodies began to move. Some dungeons didn't reset until they were completely conquered. The current situation showed that many people had challenged this dungeon, but no one had conquered it yet. While wondering if the dungeon boss was very powerful, the young woman turned to him with gloomy eyes that shed red tears. The monster girl seemed to want to ask who he was, but repeatedly attacked him, jumping at Rue. Using his sword, Rue managed to block the girl's claws. Gritting his teeth, the protagonist squeezed his defense to the maximum, waiting for an opening. However, as soon as he brandished the sword, the young woman jumped over him, escaping. With the broken sword, she continued to scream at him. She tried to attack, but Rue managed to dodge by leaning his body back. Rue held the leg of the girl, jumping in the air, and successfully threw her to the ground. The monster girl managed to get up again, continuing to murmur. Screaming fiercely, she charged at Rue once more. She brandished the sword, launching a rain of attacks like meteors. Rao continued to block and retreat until his back hit the wall of bodies. He quickly jumped to the side, escaping a kick from the dungeon boss. However, the girl would not allow him to escape. She made a second sword appear in the middle of the attack. The second broken sword passed close to Rue's body, who was almost hit. Rao took a small dagger he was carrying and, swinging his body, threw it at the monster girl. At the same moment, he moved to her back, and while she was blocking the first attack, he hit her from behind. With a kick after the first attack, Rue threw the dungeon boss against the pile of bodies. Rue gritted his teeth as he felt a pain in his chest. One of the sword attacks had hit him slightly. An energy came out of the wound, showing that there was poison in it. Surprised that the young monster used poison, Rue wondered if it had been intentional or a coincidence. He raised his sword hastily to eliminate the dungeon boss girl, as he was running out of time. However, in place of that girl, Rue ended up seeing Nana. His sister, crying, asked him fearfully, "Are you going to eliminate me too, big brother?" Rue was surprised, and the sword stopped near that Nana's shoulder. The girl on the ground extended her hand to him. "Hey, why? Is it so wrong to want to live? Help me." As soon as she showed a malicious smile, Rue attacked her, eliminating her at once. Dropping what she was holding above her shoulders, Rue stared at the body on the ground. showing a furious look. Is that how you tricked everyone else? After defeating the dungeon boss, the protagonist sighed, reminding himself to always keep an antidote with him from then on. Rue received a notification for item acquisition. He received an invitation, an unsent letter, and tears of resentment. Confused, he decided to look at the items later. While walking, Rue ended up tripping and, falling onto another monster, received a mysterious book, used to acquire unknown abilities. Confused, he wondered if there were two boss monsters in the dungeon from the beginning, if they had fought, or if this was something common in reality dungeons. The sky of that dungeon began to distort like a hallucination. To escape it, Rue hurriedly ran to the portal. He was so tired that he didn't notice a notification, a warning that something was watching him. At the Kazami's house, Yasukage got some rest. On the phone, he walked through the house, arranging a meeting with someone. Opening the door to a room, he was surprised to see a certain person awake. Excited, he shouted, "You've finally woken up?" Rue, seeing the boy, was confused. Looking around, he asked where he was, and Yasukage revealed that it was his house. Sitting on a stool, Yasukage told him what had happened. "I went to your house. The door was unlocked, and you were on the floor. I brought you here to be medicated and intended to take you back when you got better. But I couldn't find your keys, so I brought you here." Rue thanked him for the help and asked how many days he had been unconscious. Concerned, Yasukage revealed that he had been passed out for 4 days. Curious, he also asked why he had been poisoned. Since Rue remained silent, Yasukage explained that the doctors had said that if he hadn't been found, it could have been his end. Confused, Rue questioned, "If you're not willing to investigate more about this, why did you create the guild you mentioned?" Remembering the guild he had created, Yasukage revealed that all that was missing was for Rue to choose its name, which left the protagonist confused. "Why do you want me to be your partner in this?" Frowning, Rue stated that it would be better for Yasukage to choose alone, as he was better than him. Yasukage was so surprised by Rue's words that he almost jumped out of his chair. With his head down, he stammered, as he knew Rue was right not to want to participate. With a serious look, he revealed that he had thought a lot about the matter. "I don't like being treated as the second son of the family, or as Shun Kazami's younger brother. I know it's selfish, but I don't want to hide behind someone." He said that he always thought it would be fine to live off his brother, but after meeting Rue, a feeling of envy arose, along with admiration for Rue staying strong, no matter the situation. Excitedly, Yasukage revealed his thoughts. "So I imagined that if I followed you, maybe somehow I could become stronger too someday." Scratching his cheek, the shy boy explained why he wanted to form a team with Rue. As Rue looked at him with a strange expression, Yasukage asked, "You think I'm an idiot, don't you?" Rue confirmed without fear, "Yes, and a big one." Then, he reassured the boy who was crying like an abandoned dog. "Even so, I like your honesty. That's your strength. You may not be powerful now, but one day you can be, so you shouldn't underestimate yourself." Rue's words made Yasukage tremendously excited. His tears of sadness turned into tears of happiness and confidence. Thinking for a bit about a name for the guild, Rue stated, "I'll let you take care of July." Yasukage loved the name. Great for a guild. Changing the subject, Rue ended up surprising the boy by stating that he hadn't replied to his messages because he was in a dungeon. The fact that Rue went to dungeons alone left Yasukage incredibly astonished. He also couldn't believe that Rue was telling him several things, showing that he trusted him. Yasukage was about to ask the rank of the dungeon Rue had faced when he noticed his phone was ringing. Seeing who was calling, he prepared to leave the room, saying he would be back soon. However, Rue warned that he was going to his own house and said, "If you need anything, call me or send me a message. I'll reply as soon as I see it." Before Rue left the residence, Yasukage prepared some medicines for him to take, ensuring the continuity of the treatment and a quick recovery. Soon Rue arrived home. Everything looked the same as he had left it. The photos of Nana were on the wall, showing the small, smiling girl with golden hair. Rao looked at the photos for a while before getting to what he needed to do. Rue placed the various items he had obtained on the table. 2 envelopes, a book, and a large tear. The first item he picked up was one of the envelopes. When he opened it, he found a letter. "To my beloved, how are you? I'm doing very well. I'm taken to school and back home every day. They make dinner for me and tell me stories before bed, so every day is fun. But there's just a small problem. The weather keeps changing between hot and cold, so I caught a cold and my grades dropped. The child next to me laughed at me because of it, and that really made me angry. I'll get first place on the next test, for sure. Take care, okay? I'll write again next week. I'm doing very well, so don't worry about me." The letter seemed normal. The only thing that stood out were the smudges on the names of the author and the people mentioned, as well as the erasure on the date. That was the letter that had never been sent, written before the dungeons appeared. Confused, Rue wondered if that was the reason the dungeon boss had such a strong desire to survive. Rue then picked up the second item, the Tear of Resentment. The description was clear. Using Tears of Resentment will make all monsters in the dungeon hate you. Looking at the large tear, Rue commented that grudges were the easiest thing to create, although the tear had a great effect and seemed useful. Thus, Rue moved on to the third item, the invitation, and his eyes immediately showed tremendous astonishment. The The item's description indicated its use. Using the invitation allows you to force the creation of an ally. It only works inside dungeons. Reading the invitation, Rue commented, "So I can ignore dungeon rules and summon powerful allies?" This seemed like a crucial way to survive when attacking dungeons, even better than escape items. Just as he was about to put the invitation back on the table, Rue thought of something. Can I really summon anything? Even those who are gone? Looking at Nana's photo on the wall, Rue wondered if he could even summon her. Thinking it might be possible, he hurriedly stood up, only to hit his knee on the table and return to reality. Remembering he didn't have the ability to see spirits, Rue realized that even if he summoned Nana, he might be unable to see her. He decided to attack as many dungeons as possible to find items that would allow him to see spirits, and wondered if Yasukage could find one of these items at an auction. Imagining how much money he would need to buy such an item, he proceeded to check the book he had also obtained. Skill books didn't have a fixed price, so they could generate a great profit at auctions, but they could also attract unwanted attention. Therefore, selling with Yasukage's help was the best choice. However, Rao didn't want to sell the book. Holding it up and then placing it on his chest, he made the item shine with a golden light, learning its skill. 2 days later, in a dungeon, Koji asked Rue if he wasn't joking about what he had said on the phone. Even though the young man seemed strong, Koji still doubted that he had gone into a dungeon alone. Smiling, Rue assured him he wouldn't lie about something like that. Koji had a sudden realization and asked, "Are you perhaps looking to move from the rear guard to the front line?" Hearing from Rue that he wanted to have that experience, Koji didn't mind. "You've always been smart. If that's the reason, you should have done it sooner." Rue made up an excuse, inventing that he had stayed in the rear guard because he wanted to be prepared in case he needed to act as a guardian in a dungeon. Koji didn't seem convinced, but since Rue didn't give in, he could only sigh and accept the answer. Pointing to the large portal, Koji stated that it had been difficult to get a rank D dungeon without an administrator. With the young man thanking him, Koji asked him not to worry so much. "I was just lucky this time, but if you want more stable resources, you should join a big guild." Since Rue seemed satisfied with the rank D dungeon, Koji asked when his team members would arrive. Rue stated that they would arrive soon, so Koji checked his watch. As he needed to take care of some things, the explorer said he would leave first. Curious, Koji asked when Nana would return since she hadn't appeared for a while. With a look that hid his pain, Rue replied, "She must be busy." Suggesting they have dinner together when Nana returned, Koji said goodbye. Saying goodbye as well, Rue showed a look of melancholy. Looking at the portal, he stated, "I need to bring Nana back quickly, even if it's just her soul." So, without a team, Rue crossed the portal. Many skeletons and warrior monsters roamed through burning streets. A city destroyed by fire attacks. This was the sight Rue found upon passing through the portal. He wondered if that was really a rank D dungeon. Only weak monsters should appear in a dungeon of this rank. As the human appeared, the monster's attention turned against him. Skeletons and red goblins charged at Rue. The protagonist confronted the attacks with his sword as he moved through the fire. With a heavy kick, he managed to throw one of the skeletons onto the other monsters, knocking them down in a cascade. But 2 skeletons attacked him from behind, catching him by surprise. Turning quickly, Rue destroyed the skeletons, but a new attack managed to hit him sneakily. Rao felt a sharp pain in his back and rolled on the ground due to the red ogre's attack. Securing a sharp counterattack, he thrust at the one who had hit him. Clenching his teeth, Rao destroyed the monster, while several others, along with the fire, tightened the siege on him. Grabbing one of the skeletons, the protagonist threw it against the monster that was trying to attack him from behind once more. But that enemy destroyed the skeleton with a sword blow, continuing its advance. The red ogre tried to punch Rue, but using its own fist as a lever, the protagonist jumped over it. Before the monster could notice, an attack reaped it. With a surge of fury, the protagonist jumped towards a warrior skeleton who was startled. Amidst the flames, the skeleton was dismantled like toy pieces. Looking at the scene of destruction and fire, Rue stated, certain of his investigation, "This is not a rank D dungeon." Walking through the destroyed streets and touching the defeated monsters, Rue obtained bones, meat, and beast hide. Unexpectedly, he got an item called a white jade bone, which came with a note. It was only possible to obtain a maximum of 1 premium forging material per dungeon clear. While analyzing the item, an ogre and a skeleton tried to attack him. However, Rue threw his sword backward, embedding it in the red ogre. Suspicious, Rue reflected to himself that no dungeon could be challenged repeatedly. But analyzing the item's description, he understood that this one was the exact opposite of the others. Realizing how the dungeon rules were changing, Rue retrieved his sword to continue the raid. While walking, he wondered what would happen if the dungeons received a silent update while humans paid unthinkable prices to analyze them. When he got to a corner after minutes minutes of contemplation, Ru's eyes widened when he saw something unexpected. Several red ogres were united, attacking a small fox. With fear and fury, the fox with white fur and red spots growled and gnashed its teeth, trying to force the monsters to retreat. What had happened in the dungeon where the boss monster was a little girl could be attributed to the attributes of reality dungeons, but what he was seeing now was completely different. Ru didn't think the scenario before him was bad, because if this was also a new change, where monsters attacked each other, humanity would only benefit. The red ogres managed to corner the fox, which was groaning on the ground due to its injuries. Still, it tried to get up, even though it was trembling. However, it only managed to stare at one of the ogres, extending a hand against it with a malicious look. The little fox ran away desperately. It stopped in front of Ru, hissing and staring at him with pleading eyes as if asking for help, but Ru simply turned away, leaving it alone with the ogres. Overcome by fear, the fox jumped onto Ru's leg, clinging to it desperately. He tried to push it away, but when he looked into those abandoned kitten eyes, he couldn't resist. He couldn't help but compare that look to Nana's when she wanted to ask him for something. Ru sighed, giving in to his own principles, and decided to help the small beast. With the fox still clinging to his leg, he defeated the red ogres. In the next instant, however, he grabbed the fox by the scruff of its neck and threw it away. "I'll spare your life, so go away." Even so, the fox continued to follow him, despite his contrary will. At the end of one of the city's streets was a square engulfed in flames. At its center was the dungeon boss, waiting for the challenger. Ru approached the monster, who, upon noticing him, stared at him with gloomy eyes and a skeletal face adorned with horns. At the same moment, Rao heard a crack in the asphalt next to him. Jumping forward, he escaped the collapse while the fox continued to follow him closely. Entering the battlefield, Ru ran towards the skeleton boss. The enemy advanced, trying to grab Ru's sword, but by brandishing it, the protagonist managed to escape. Quickly, sword strikes and bone punches clashed several times, creating a shower of sparks. Breaking the boss's defense, Ru hit its shoulder pad, which cracked slightly, distracting it. Taking advantage of the opening, Ru spun his body and launched a spinning kick. However, in the face of the kick, the skeleton smiled maliciously. Making its finger bones lengthen into claws, it attacked the human. Ru realized in the middle of his movement that he would get the worst of it. Leaning his sword on the ground, he managed to change his trajectory. This was the first monster Ru had faced that didn't use swords or clubs, but rather its own body as a weapon. Still, he remained confident, as skeleton-type monsters were usually not a problem. Attacking with his sword, Ru launched a thrust at the enemy's shoulder. Taking the opportunity, he grabbed it by the arm bone and in one go, pulled the boss, throwing it to the ground. Unbalanced, the skeleton opened a space for the final blow. Ru raised his sword with all his might and brought it down against the monster's neck. However, the attack was not enough. Surprisingly, that part was extremely tough. Ru couldn't believe the neck was the hardest part of that skeleton. In the midst of his surprise, he suffered an attack. Retreating quickly and letting go of his sword, he managed to dodge the spikes that emerged from the enemy's back. A notification appeared before him as the boss grew stronger. Skeleton King boss has entered the second phase. With spikes on its back, a terrifying look, and a dominant aura, the Skeleton King stood imposingly before Ru, who was now without a sword. A few months ago, talking to Nana, Ru asked if dungeons were like games. Nana really wished it were that way, since in games, bosses progressively got stronger. Tired, the girl stated that monsters and bosses attacked with full force from the beginning in dungeons. Since they were different from games, casualties in real life were high, and that's why Nana was happy that her brother wasn't involved in that world. Now, Ru was facing a monster that his sister always wanted him to avoid meeting. To make matters worse, the skeleton had taken possession of the sword that belonged to him. Pulling out an old dagger, Ru advanced quickly against the enemy. He passed the skeleton and managed to attack it, but looking at its back, he was surprised. The spine bone had been strengthened, shining like the hardest metal. However, now the monster was slower and had its weakness exposed. For Ru, that seemed like a rare opportunity. The skeleton raised the red sword against him, but Ru charged once more. The enemy's blow fell to the ground as the young man jumped over it. The protagonist stepped between the Skeleton King's horns, ready to attack with the dagger. At that moment, however, the enemy bent down, and the spikes from its back flew toward Ru. Surprised, he reacted quickly, blocking them, but one still pierced his shoulder. Retreating, Ru realized he had been tricked. Without giving him time to breathe, the Skeleton King launched a devastating attack, forcing him to dodge the sword. Using his agility, the young man circled the monster and found its nape. The dagger hit the bone, and, unlike before, this time a slight crack appeared. Rue was satisfied with the blow, but soon a look of pain took over his face. The skeleton attacked at an unexpected angle and hit him, even though it was facing away. Rue couldn't believe that even the Skeleton King's bones could change shape. Fallen with injured ribs, he saw his chances of victory slipping away. The evil look and dark energy took over the enemy, who raised the sword for a final blow. However, due to the slowness of the attack, Rue managed to jump back. Refusing to give up, he put in his mind that he needed to retrieve Nana's sword at all costs. Sword and dagger clashed several times in fast and sharp blows. Still, in the exchanges, Rue got the worst of it and was thrown to the ground near the little fox. The skeleton seemed to be laughing, baring its fangs as it approached. With the weight of a boss monster, it stepped on Rue's leg, preventing him from escaping. Laughing, it created new spikes that immediately flew toward the young man. Unable to react, Rue just waited for his end. But at that moment, a furious little fox appeared from behind the enemy. Surprised, Rue saw the fox attack exactly the monster boss's weak point. Unable to reach it, the Skeleton King redirected its spikes. Instead of attacking the human, they flew against the fox. Taking advantage of the little companion's sacrifice, Rue stood up and took back the sword. With all his agility, he got to the enemy's back and raised the blade in fury. In a single blow, he hit the point he had injured before, completely destroying the bone. With the imposing attack, charged with energy, Rue won the battle. Leaning on his sword, he gasped heavily. The fox cried, even with the spikes disappearing. With a slight smile, Rue asked if it had returned the favor he had done by saving it. Getting up, the protagonist looked at the notification that had appeared. He obtained 2 more white jade bones, but another alert caused him greater concern. Because of the deep wounds, you only have 30 minutes of life left. Rue coughed heavily, painting the ground red. The dungeon core hadn't appeared yet, and seeing a wooden marker, he wondered how many stages were still left. Rue just hoped he could survive the dungeon. Amid his worries, Rue spotted the small wounded fox. Bending down, the protagonist thanked it for its help earlier. Without touching it, Rue apologized for not having any healing items for it, saying goodbye. "I don't know if you understand me, but you'll have to survive on your own from now on." As if it understood his words and didn't want to say goodbye, the fox forced itself up, holding his hand. Stopping to think, Rue remembered that his sister had once commented that some rank A monsters understood human language. While wondering what was happening with the dungeon, Rue saw the fox point to the destroyed skeleton. The fox ran to one of the bones and, chewing on it, was unexpectedly healed. The protagonist picked up one of the items he had obtained, the white jade bone. Confused, he asked the fox if he could heal himself if he ate it. Excitedly, the fox nodded. Surprised, Rue realized that the fox could see his abilities. To test if he was right, he pointed to the danger alert, asking if the fox could see it. While eating the jade bones, the fox looked at the warning screen. The poor little fox almost choked when it saw the terrifying notification, making Rue confirm that it could see. The fox ran in one direction, and when it stumbled and fell, looked back as if asking Rue to follow it. Rue ended up following the fox through the flaming streets. When they reached a more isolated place where the fox began to dig, Rue asked why it had taken him to that spot. After digging the hole, the fox was excited to find what it was looking for. It picked up a green item with its mouth, taking it to Rue. The protagonist bent down, analyzing the green stone. The fox desperately begged him to take the stone, and Rue did so. Soon a notification appeared before him. Fire Castle successfully saved. Entry available in 7 days. Exit now? Surprised, Rue had confirmation that there were dungeons that could be accessed multiple times. Curious, Rue asked the fox why it had an item like that. In response, it squeaked, showing a smile. Relieved, Rue thanked the little fox. Seeing Rue wanting to leave immediately, the fox was shocked. It jumped desperately, hugging his arm, not wanting to leave him. Crying, the fox pointed to the exit notification, as if it wanted to go with him. Putting the fox on the ground, Rue apologized. "I'm sorry, it's not possible to take monsters out of dungeons." The fox, with teary eyes, remained clung to him, begging. Rue tried to correct himself, stating that it would be deleted if he tried to take it out. The little fox cried even more, pleading with its round, cute eyes. Faced with those eyes, Rue lost the will to disagree. The memory of Nana clinging to his arm came to mind. When she wanted to eat a little more, she did exactly the same thing the fox was doing now. Sighing, Rue decided, "I'll try to take you, but if something happens, don't blame me." Excitedly, the fox jumped for joy, celebrating. Soon, the little fox climbed onto Rue's back, who, with a slight smile, pressed the exit button. A powerful magic circle appeared below Rue, and releasing a great energy that rose to the skies, it enveloped him. Rao returned to his apartment, where he lay on the couch, in pain all over his body. The small fox, with its numerous tails, was next to him. Picking up the phone, Rue called someone asking for a doctor. Worried, the fox snuggled up to Rue, who weakly looked at it. "Are you alive?" In front of the little fox, Rue began to lose consciousness. The phone fell to the floor, and then he passed out. Yasukage rescued Rue, putting him in bed. When Rue regained consciousness, he saw the small fox worriedly by his side. Weakly, he murmured, "Hey, hide." Yasukage, seeing Rue awake, stood up, startling the fox. "Thank heavens you're finally awake!" While the fox's fur bristled, growling at Yasukage, the young man, as if he didn't notice it, asked Rue if he was okay. Sitting up in bed, Rue stated he was hungry. Revealing that he had slept for a whole day, Yasukage invited him to eat. Saying someone had already made porridge, Yasukage left the room to heat it up. Looking at the small fox, Rue asked if it was injured, but as it meowed happily, he realized it wasn't. Satisfied, Rue stroked the little monster's fur, asking if it had decided where to go. However, the fox showed that it wanted to stay with him, rubbing its head against his hand. Rue was surprised that it wanted to stay with him, but since there was nothing he could do, he decided to give it a name. With a slight smile, he imagined that Nana would love to meet this new companion and decided to call it Pie, since that was the sound it made. Upon entering the room, Yasukage asked Rue if he was talking to someone. Stating he was talking to himself, Rue thanked him for helping him. Placing the small table with the porridge over Rue's legs, Yasukage reassured him. However, unexpectedly, he rested one of the table's legs on Pie's tail. The small fox pulled its tails away quickly, making the small table wobble, and Yasukage became confused. "Did I put the table on something?" Changing the subject, Yasukage commented to Rue, who was starting to eat, that the doctor had said he had lost a lot of blood, which was why he needed to rest. Worried about imagining that Rue had entered a dungeon alone again, Yasukage asked why he didn't form a team. With a short answer, Rue stated he liked to be alone. Changing the subject again, Yasukage commented that everything was going well for now thanks to the supplies Rue had provided. Confused, Rue asked if someone was messing with him. Denying it, Yasukage stated, however, that there were people prying, although he was managing to organize things. Remembering that he hadn't given anything of great value to Yasukage, Rue asked why there was so much curiosity. However, the boy explained that there were so many things that it ended up attracting attention. Wanting some organization, Yasukage asked if he could recruit some members. "Unemployment is growing fast, and it's getting harder to live without dungeon-related jobs. I want to help people somehow." Rue felt that Yasukage had someone in mind. Stating that he was currently selling bulk supplies to the Daisy Company, he revealed he wanted to open his own store. This way, he would increase the recognition of the Jurai Guild, while providing regular jobs to people. He counted his plans on his fingers. 2 butcher shops and 2 department stores. We can assign 2 people per store. The headquarters is also almost ready, so we'll need manpower. Rao was surprised to hear about a headquarters. The young man stated that all guilds had one, so they should too. Revealing that he had already found a good location, he stated that as soon as Rao was healed, they would go take a look and then sign the contract. Excitedly, Yasukage declared, "I want to keep expanding our operations. Just selling material doesn't guarantee a complete future. Besides, we can't depend on you for everything." Seeing Rue become silent because of his words, Yasukage tried to explain, "I didn't mean it in a bad way. I'm just repeating what the doctor said. If you get hurt frequently, it will be dangerous." Rue stopped eating and reassured the boy, "I understand. You're the one leading the guild, so do what you think is best. Have confidence in yourself." The boy stated excitedly that he would have confidence, but not having done any work like that before, he would need someone to help him. Yasukage revealed he was thinking in several directions to operate, such as buying cheap materials and selling at a higher price, selling information, consultations, and job vacancies. Seeking Rue's opinion, he asked which would be the best choice. Rue thought about each point he mentioned. Information trading requires connections. That's not our strong suit. Besides, the big guilds have already taken over the market. Yasukage ended up agreeing. Besides the 7 stars, they didn't have true connections with anyone. Rue knew that the young man also couldn't count on his brother or the Kazami family, so he reassured him, "If you decide to do this alone, don't rush. We are a new guild. It's okay to go slow." Tiredly, Yasukage sighed, commenting to himself, "Relying on my family when things get difficult, I really haven't grown at all." Unexpectedly, Rue told the boy that reselling material wouldn't work either. While the small fox was bathing, Rue explained, "The Daisy Company has been in the game for decades. They've built strong ties with many guilds and gained the trust of civilians and adventurers. We can't beat them unless our sales are at a much lower profit." Scratching his head, Yasukage commented that for the other options, they would need to do research. Rue also commented on the other plans. "It might be worth trying professional placement, but I don't expect much." As the young man believed they would also need connections for this, Rue advised him to go to the Adventurers Association. Rue explained that with unemployment increasing, the stability of society would be affected, so there was no way the association would ignore such a fact. Yasukage thought that since the unemployment problem had existed for years, the association should have already acted, but it hadn't. Rue explained why. No one wants to deal with a thankless job. That's probably why everyone avoids it. Before the dungeons appeared, job vacancies appeared easily on the market, but that changed. Dungeons now provided resources, making human science advance quickly. Since adventurers had unique abilities, science couldn't be used in combat in dungeons, and common people lost their means of living. Yasukage confirmed Rue's words, remembering that since the dungeons appeared, the unemployment rate had grown. As this was a risky market that attracted hatred if it went wrong, Rue explained that this was the reason no one invested in this kind of problem. However, Yasukage still imagined if they could make some profit if there was a margin. But Rue corrected him by asking a question. Do you really think someone would look for a recruiter to find adventurers for the rear guard? With his head down, Yasukage seemed to realize that all it took was a shout to gather many adventurers in a large crowd. And so, Rue questioned if he really wanted to try this path. Yasukage thought for a moment, and revealing he had already thought about the matter, stated with conviction, I don't have any special skills, but at least I want to provide work for people so they have a way to live. I think that's my function in the world. Rue watched the boy for a moment who, scared, said he knew he was being arrogant. However, Rue smiled, encouraging him to pay attention. He only wanted to create a world where he could tell Nana how much he loved her, but Yasukage himself was trying to make the world a better place. Yasukage ended up blushing from being praised. He even got excited. It's the first time someone has praised me. Can you say it again so I can record it? Knowing that the boy had been taking care of him for a while, Rue asked him to go home. While stating he was fine, Yasukage remembered something he had forgotten to mention. The 7 Stars base was attacked. Rue was shocked by the news and asked when that had happened. With his head down, Yasukage revealed it had been on the afternoon of the previous day. 3 people wearing hoods appeared at the 7 Stars base and without saying anything caused an explosion. Only Fischl was at the base at the time, but thanks to him, a total disaster was avoided. Rue asked who the culprit was, but Yasukage had no idea. The only information, or rumor, he knew was that the 3 looked like those who had fought his brother. With the reappearance of the Saints in just a few months, Rue wondered why they were acting so visibly. Revealing that they had managed to drive the 3 away, Yasukage said worriedly that Fischl had been severely injured. Even with the request for the other 7 stars to return, none of them arrived in time. Noticing that Rue had his phone in his hand, Yasukage asked what he was doing. The protagonist stated that there was no information about the attack on the internet or on the Explorers network. Yasukage explained why the information had been hidden. The 7 stars are the spiritual support and hope of humanity. If they were attacked and hurt, a great commotion would happen if the world found out. An unusual look of anger appeared in Yasukage as he commented on how the Saints claimed they would make the 7 stars submit. It was at that moment that Rue had an idea. Yasukage, create a department specializing in information gathering. I want resources that I can use. I want all information about major national and international powers, as well as about dungeons. Can you do that? Despite not being sure, the young man stated that he would do his best. Seeing his confidence, Rue stated that he would introduce him to an informant, but he warned him, don't reveal his identity to anyone, and also don't trust him completely. Rao finished, startling Yasukage with a request. Come up with a reason to tell your brother that there has been a change in dungeon rules. Later that same day, Rue exercised in his private gym. Resting, he drank water while pie lay on his head. However, a red-haired woman appeared at the window, making faces to scare him and make him spit out all the water. Annoyed, he questioned, how long have you been there? Excitedly, the woman, who was with you the first time Rue heard about the Daisy Company, replied that it had been 18 minutes. As he closed the window, Rue asked her to keep watching. Preventing him from closing, she hurried into the building, while he crossed his arms and questioned her about why she was trying to surprise him. If you fell, it would be an even bigger surprise. Why don't you try? Seeing him act so coldly, the woman put her arm over Rue's shoulders, pressing her curvy body against him. Come on, smile. While provoking him, she analyzed his body. Oh, you're pretty firm. Your chest has become so defined it's impossible to believe. Pai watched the interaction with a curious and confused look. The woman pretended to be innocent when Rue planned to kick her out. Back then, when you called me Hime-san, you were so cute. When did you become such a cold-hearted man? Annoyed, Haim turned to him. Trash. Since she was calling him that, Rue grabbed her by the collar and took her to the window. Haim quickly recovered, holding his hand while asking to return to the main topic. With Pai on his lap, Rue asked why she was there. After having a coffee, Haim revealed that Yu couldn't make the visit because he was busy. Remembering how the association was a mess, she explained that Yu was overwhelmed, so she decided to help Ru like an older sister. Sighing, Ru questioned, "Why? Even with the 7 Stars base being attacked, that wouldn't be enough to throw the headquarters into chaos." With a finger to her mouth, Jaime reminded him to keep it a secret. Crossing her long legs, she looked around, remembering that Ru never let her into his house. "What made your heart change?" Getting straight to the point, Ru stated he wanted skill books. Smiling in agreement, Haim asked what the offer would be. Coldly, he replied, "Information about dungeons." Assuming a business tone, she warned him, "Even for you, I won't give discounts." It was then that Ru dropped a bombshell of a surprise on her lap. Information about a dungeon that can be attacked multiple times. Is that enough? She couldn't believe it, but Ru reminded her that he wasn't the type to joke. Despite it being something never seen before, a rarity, Haim stated that the information wasn't enough. Ru, confident, made a new proposal. "Then I'll explain how to get into the dungeon." Swallowing hard, Haim asked for the details. Rao remembered what he had done earlier. He had asked Pai if it could take him and other people to the dungeon. With Pai confirming, he asked how many could go, and the little fox raised its paws, showing 8 fingers. Thus, Ru stated, "The dungeon has at least 2 layers. It can be attacked multiple times and allows up to 8 people. I'll take 7 with me." Crossing her arms as well, Haim asked what the price would be. Ru was direct, 1 book per person. Haim thought the price was quite high, but she didn't refuse immediately. Ru reinforced the proposal, explaining, "When I become strong enough, I can clear the dungeon as many times as I want. Even if the skill book doesn't appear, I'll return your money quickly. I think it's a fair deal. If you don't accept, someone will." 10 days later, Ru, Haim, and 8 other people arrived at the dungeon portal. Looking at the portal, Haim thought it looked like a normal dungeon's. Satisfied, Ru stated that he had thought the same thing the first time he saw it, and then invited her and the group. "If you don't believe me, come in with me." Ru went in first, while a man questioned the leader. "Asatsuyu-san, are you sure about this?" The man with tied-up hair stated he had never heard of a dungeon that could be cleared multiple times before, and that, if it existed, they could truly become much stronger. Behind him, a girl asked them to worry about becoming stronger only after they found out if it was true. Smiling, Haim stated that she would not betray the trust of those who believed in her, and said that she would go first, letting everyone follow her afterward. The group quickly stated that they had not come all this way to get scared at the last moment. Everyone was ready to follow her. Despite everyone agreeing, she still stated that she would go first. Soon, the entire group entered the dungeon, finding a city in flames, red ogres, and skeletons. Haim was incredulous, as were the others, who had never seen so many monsters together before. They quickly remembered the plan: split into 3 groups and quickly eliminate the small monsters, saving stamina. Haim met up with Ru, thanking him, but he reminded her of the agreement they had made. Seeing that her companions were waiting, Ru told her to go with them. Worried, she asked what he would do. Rao stated that he would stay behind, as the wound he had suffered was not completely healed yet, but he reassured her, "Since you've already entered the dungeon, you've gained access. You already have the key." Looking at the power in her hand, Haim realized exactly why he had said that. Smiling, Ru wondered if she didn't know or if she was just waiting for him to say it. Thus, Haim quickly ran to her team, saying goodbye. "As soon as everything calms down, I'll take you and you out to eat together." Ru watched Haim and her team quickly reach the Skeleton King. However, with his arms crossed and carrying Pai, he stated that it would not be enough. Having so many secrets, he couldn't join her team. There was not only Ru's ability to collect items from bodies, but now there was also the fact that he could take monsters out of dungeons. If something like that were discovered, a new crisis for the world could happen. With Pai in his arms, Ru stated to the little fox that he wished it had stayed at home. However, the little fox huffed. Earlier, when Ru was about to leave, Pai jumped onto his shoulder to go with him. Ru put it on the couch, saying he was going out and asking the fox to be a good boy. However, Pai refused to stay and take care of the house and followed him. Ru really insisted, "Stay quiet at home. I even bought toys for you. If you don't want to play, watch TV or something." Shocked at having to stay alone, Pai refused and grabbed Ru's leg so he wouldn't leave. Sighing, Ru picked up the fox, lifting it and reprimanded it. "Just because humans can't see you doesn't mean monsters in dungeons can't either. It will be dangerous to take you." However, Pai started crying with begging eyes once more. Being moved, Ru scratched the little fox's head, instructing, "Run away if things get dangerous. Don't do anything risky like last time." Soon the Skeleton King was defeated, and Ru walked up to it. While everyone was crossing the bridge, he collected the skeleton. When they had distanced themselves, Ru ran after them so as not to be left behind. Ru continued to collect the monsters while the teams fought, not paying attention to him. While collecting the bodies, Ru noticed something. A large orc, dozens of meters tall, had appeared. At that moment, Pai ran to him, worriedly calling out to him. The fox, as if it was trying to show the size of the great monster, threw itself on the ground. as if it was trying to say something. Rue understood what the fox wanted. Is someone hurt? Jumping, Pai confirmed the information. Rue had told Haim everything he knew about the fire castle, as well as the predictions. Even if she didn't trust him 100%, she was cautious, which was why she was allied with skilled people. Frowning, he remembered how the first 2 stages had been calm. He wondered what was happening in the 3rd stage. Did the difficulty increase so much, or was there some other problem? Passing through a portal to leave, he decided to ask Jaime about the matter on another occasion. Rao returned home and, wearing an apron, started cooking, with Yasukage watching him. Curious, Rue asked what he meant. Yasukage scratched his head, commenting, "When you cook, you look so domestic." With an annoyed smile, Rue questioned if it was wrong for a man to cook. Hurriedly, Yasukage stated that was not what he meant. Changing the subject, Yasukage revealed that he had told his brother about the information Rue had given him. Confused, Rue asked why he shouldn't communicate the change in dungeon rules directly to the association. Placing the plate of rice on the stove table for Pai to smell, Rue stated that it was a too sensitive problem to be said in public. Stating that his brother hadn't said anything, Yasukage imagined that he already knew the information. Thinking of something, Rue asked if he could go to the Daisy Company to get information for him. Already having matters to resolve there, Yasukage took on the mission. Rou had prepared pasta and salad, and while they were eating, Pai tried to get his attention. Since Rou seemed distracted, Yasukage asked if there was something wrong. Rue immediately looked at the door when he heard the doorbell ring. Yasukage asked if he was expecting someone, and frowning, Rue stood up, answering negatively. Rue went to the door, where he found a small girl. As soon as he opened it, Konatsu fell into his house, begging for help. As soon as she entered Rue's house, the girl Konatsu started eating all the dishes he had made, as well as many others, in a hurry. While Rue looked at the girl with a passive gaze, Yasukage approached him, whispering, "Where did you find such an eccentric friend?" Grabbing a piece of meat, Konatsu, who had heard the comment, corrected him, "I'm not eccentric." Startled, Yasukage didn't expect her to have heard and laughed nervously. "Ha ha ha, you have good ears." With a mouthful of food, Konatsu stated that nothing escaped her ears. After several plates were cleared, Yasukage asked if she was full, but she cheerfully denied it. Yasukage intended to get a few more plates, but Rue thought of a better alternative. "Let's order some takeout, lots of meat dishes." Talking to the girl, Rue asked if something had happened, questioning where Nozomu was. While gnawing on a bone, Konatsu revealed that Yukino had broken her motorcycle and needed to pay for it, which was why Nozomu was working a part-time job to help. Rue asked if she had gone to his house alone. Without any shame, Konatsu revealed, "Nozomu sent me here, saying there was delicious food. He told me to collapse as soon as the door opened and ask for help." Neither Rue nor Yasukage believed that everything had been planned beforehand. With Rue refraining from any comment, Yasukage stated, "This looks like insurance fraud." However, the girl was quick with her response. "This isn't a store." Frustrated, Rue slapped his own face. In the end, Rue told Konatsu to invite Nozomu too. As soon as Ryu's mouth closed, the window opened and Nozomu entered through it. "Well, thanks for the food." Rue felt a great sense of déjà vu seeing someone enter through the window. Entering the house, Nozomu stated that he would be in Rue's care. Sitting down at the table next to Konatsu, he asked the boys, "Grilled meat sounds great. Konatsu wants to eat too, right?" Excitedly, the girl raised her hand. "I want to eat." With Rue's confirmation, Yasukage placed the order via delivery. Scratching his head while laughing, Nozomu wished he had gone to Rue's house earlier to eat. Frowning, Rue questioned his part-time job. With a shameless smile, Nozomu stated that he hadn't found a job that suited him, so he was thinking of becoming a gigolo. Becoming a little irritated, Rue asked if he had gone to his house just for food and cheap talk. Nozomu didn't like the way he had put things. The protagonist questioned whether Nozomu couldn't pay the debts by going to the dungeons. Does Kyoka not have that kind of power? Hearing the question, Yasukage answered first. Kyoka, she probably really doesn't. Remembering something that happened, he revealed to Rue. A few days ago, a member of Kyoka went crazy and destroyed several of the Daisy Company's trucks. Then they fought with members of other guilds and destroyed a building as well. Scratching his cheek, Nozomu revealed that the damages amounted to billions, and the Daisy Company wanted compensation in items, not money. Yasukage, well-informed, commented that Kyoka had no support and didn't plan to get any, so going to the dungeons was just gambling on luck, although many people didn't want to do that. While Konatsu was licking the plates, Nozomu sighed. "This time Yukino went too far. To clean up this mess, we can't even buy bean sprouts. I haven't eaten meat in years." Revealing that he had ordered a lot of meat, Yasukage stated that he could eat to his heart's content. Thanking the young man, Nozomu did him a favor. "I won't bother your brother for a while." Yasukage was surprised to hear that the man knew both him and his brother. Smiling as he stated that the two looked alike, Nozomu revealed that he and Shun were like companions. Yasukage didn't believe his brother would have friends, an opinion that Rue also shared. Revealing that he and Shun had been fighting for 5 years, Nozomu asked if they hadn't already become companions. Curious, Rue asked Nozomu how many members were in Kyoka. Revealing that they were made up of 7 people, the man asked if Rue wanted to hire them. However, as the various dishes had already arrived, Rue asked them to start eating while they talked. Nozomu and Konatsu hurriedly began to grab the food with their hands, throwing it into their mouths and swallowing even before chewing. Since everything seemed like a mess, Yasukage stated that he would go home. So Rue said goodbye as he walked him to the door. When they reunited in the living room, Nozomu asked Rue if the boy was like his little brother, since he was quite cautious. Rue got straight to the point, stating he wanted to hire the members of Kyoka. Remembering that they were swamped with debt, Nozomu stated that he could put all the members into service, but asked Rue to find the dungeons, since they were becoming scary. He also remembered that they didn't accept Rank S dungeons because they were problematic. Remembering that Rank S dungeons had the possibility of dropping memorandums, Nozomu stated that this led to a deeper understanding of the dungeon, and when obtained, the association became quite annoying. Rue understood all the requirements to hire Kyoka, intending to hire them for half a year to attack dungeons from rank A downwards. Nozomu liked the idea of being hired for half a year. Let's exchange contact information and discuss details with the members tomorrow. Since they had settled on the plans, Nozomu announced that he would go home, apologizing for the intrusion. While holding a sleeping Konatsu in his arms, Rue warned, "I want to build a good cooperative relationship from now on, so please stop secretly investigating me from behind the scenes." Promising that he wouldn't do it anymore, Nozomu, as an apology, decided to give Rue some information. "Your little brother is standing out a lot. Be careful." Rue thanked him for the warning, which for Nozomu was no big deal. "Don't worry about it. I don't want to lose such a young companion." At the same time, Yu was arriving home, and upon arriving and seeing Haim completely bandaged, he didn't know how to react. Hey, how should I react when I see my sister start dancing in a mummy costume?" Making Haim quite irritated, Yu went to the refrigerator, asking what had happened to her. Clicking her tongue, she revealed that she had screwed things up. Sitting in a soft chair, she began to complain. "It's all Yukino's fault, that crazy woman." Passing a drink to his sister and asking if it wasn't a frequent thing, Yu questioned if she couldn't avoid Yukino. However, Haim revealed that things were much deeper. "I got hurt in a dungeon. While I was going to the hospital, that woman and a guild were fighting." Sad for his sister, Yu stated that that had been great bad luck. Crushing the drink can, Haim swore, "I will definitely punch that woman one day and destroy that motorcycle of hers too." Yu asked his sister to restrain herself and not touch Yukino's motorcycle, as there were always frightening results when that happened. Confused, Yu returned to a topic commented on by his sister. "But why did you go to a dungeon so suddenly? Didn't you say you wouldn't go to them anymore?" Sighing, Haim asked her brother, "When you find a treasure, you can't ignore it, right?" She revealed that she had made a deal. 10 skill books in exchange for taking us to a dungeon that can be conquered countless times. Haim laughed, thinking she had been victorious in the deal for exchanging 10 books to go with several people to a dungeon several times. However, Yu contradicted her. "But next month there will probably be a dungeon invasion. You messed up." Surprised, Haim didn't believe her brother. In a dungeon with Konatsu, Rue found a large orc at the end of a cave. The girl immediately charged upon seeing the monster. Grabbing it by the head, Konatsu threw it to the ground, which cracked under the orc's weight. In another dungeon, where carnivorous plants had already been frozen, Nozomu raised his bow and arrow, aiming at a fishman. The arrow crossed the battlefield and upon hitting the monster, turned it into an iceberg. Now in this dungeon, Rue congratulated the man on his work. Since rank D and E dungeons were too easy, Nozomu asked if they weren't going to hire rank dungeons. Rue reassured him, saying they would soon. Nozomu was getting upset about hunting small fish, but it wasn't as if Rue found high-rank dungeons so easily. Seeing the man looking at him with a worried expression, Rue asked if there was any problem. Sighing, Nozomu commented, "Dungeons aren't cheap. I wanted to be rich, man." Rue believed that Nozomu could achieve his dream, but he always spent money on foolish things. Upon destroying the monster and approaching the portal, Nozomu commented, "I won't ask why you hire people to clear low-rank dungeons since I'm getting paid, but I'll give you a warning. Lately you're getting more attention than that junior." Sending a goodbye kiss, Nozomu passed through the portal, leaving the dungeon. Knowing that Nozomu was right, Rue realized it was time to take a break. That day, Rue returned home. He didn't expect anything when he opened the door. However, P furiously jumped on top of him. Holding the fox in his arms, Rue calmed it down and reprimanded it. "Come on, calm down. You were the one who was wrong this time. I told you to follow me quietly, but you tried to fight. I won't take you again until your fur fully grows back." The fox, which had part of the fur on its back ripped out due to an attack, received Rue's caresses, who asked it not to make things difficult. Looking around, Rue noticed something on the gym window. Going there, he locked it. Just then, Yu appeared outside, upside down. With a mocking puff, Rue left him outside the building, turning to ignore him. However, looking inside the house, Rue realized that Haim was already there. Leaning on a table, she commented, "I didn't break in, you left the door open." Coldly, Rue asked what she wanted. Haim revealed that only a small issue had happened. Her brother had found trouble, so they had to run away together. Surprised, Rue asked if the association headquarters had been attacked. Shrugging, Jaime revealed that for Yu, the situation was even worse. A little worried, she pointed to the window where her brother was hanging. "Let him in. He's about to fall." Refusing, Rue replied, "I'll double the condolence fee." Haim was surprised by his coldness, but Rue reminded her, "I told you not to use the window." Sharply, the woman corrected him, "You told me, not him." Seeing Haim watching him with a curious look, Rue asked what she wanted. She then revealed her thoughts. "You're getting more direct every time we talk." Getting straight to the point of the reason for the visit, Jaime looked away to ask, "The spots for the blazing castle, I wonder if I could change them." Surprising her, Rue refused, reminding her that he had told her to choose strong people or people with potential. Sighing, she commented sadly, "If I had known things would end up like this, I should have betrayed you from the start." Surprised, Rue asked if she was joining the association. Correcting him, she looked at her brother outside. "He's the one who betrayed me." With a frowned look, Rue made Yu his target. "Then I just need to take care of him." Crossing her arms, Haim revealed that her brother had forced her to join him to meet a quota of explorers, and because of that, she was wanting to teach him a lesson for his own good. With a severe look, Jaime also warned about something that would happen eventually. "You may have used that boy to leak information to Kazami Shun, but have you thought about how someone obsessed with his brother, like Kazami, would react? He would immediately presume that you were using his brother as a pawn in some scheme." Rue still didn't think that was a sufficient reason to sell them out. Entering the house after breaking the window, Yu agreed. "That's right, she's just playing the blame on me." Haim sarcastically praised her brother for managing to get in, and he returned the insult. "I can't be compared to you, who tried to use me by painting me as a villain." He openly asked his sister if she hadn't talked about the blazing castle so that he would investigate. Haim laughed, replying that she was just testing him. With a hand on Rue's shoulder to support him, and leaving a jealous fox unaware, Yu mocked his sister for always being cautious and leaving a route of escape, but this time that had tightened the rope around her neck. The red-haired young woman hated her brother's boldness. Annoyed, she reminded him of how she had gone to dungeons 3 days ago, risking her own life. With a dark look, she narrated, "This time I was completely prepared." And what happened? In Stage 3, the monster was rank A, and in Stage 4, rank S. Rue was surprised by the jump in the dungeon's difficulty. Confirming the information, Jaime revealed that this was the reason for her visit. You can get massive rewards from rank S dungeons, and this is a dungeon that you can clear repeatedly. What's more, we only managed to clear up to Stage 4. Stating that the Blazing Castle dungeon was much more valuable than she had imagined, Haim revealed that it was too much for her guild to handle. Yu sadly agreed with his sister. "No one wants to lose a treasure, but there's no point in biting off more than you can chew." P watched Rue become sad while commenting, "Better than being hungry and wasting a treasure, I guess." Suddenly, a tremor happened throughout the building, startling the three who were talking. They quickly ran to the window and were scared by what they saw. A block from the building, a large portal with dozens of meters had appeared, emanating a powerful red energy. Countless people went in front of the portal to take pictures of it. Many were scared, as if the monsters leaked from the portals. Probably half of the city would be destroyed. Soon, the authorities isolated the area with tape and drove people away from the vicinity. However, a crazy man passed through the police barrier and, thinking there was no salvation, charged towards the portal, but soon someone pushed him, preventing him from doing something foolish. However, the guard leader was shocked when something unexpected happened. The portal grew larger, swallowing both that man and the authorities who had detained him. He immediately shouted, "Run!" The dozens of people around the portal began to run away, knocking each other over in a great avalanche. Rue, Yu, and Jaime arrived at the scene, where they could witness everything personally. Looking at the portal, Rao wondered if the dungeon rules had changed again. But Haim beside him commented that she had never seen a dungeon that grew in size. Yu questioned, "It looks as if the portal isn't ready yet." Everyone looked at him darkly, scaring him. Rue reprimanded him, telling him not to say scary things. Haim went further, punching her brother for it. With a large bump on his head, Yu cried, apologizing. However, with a sigh, he stated seriously that he was telling the truth, because if they didn't know which rules had changed, they could only expect the worst. Looking at the Scarlet Portal, Rue thought of the worst-case scenario and commented in a low voice, Another dungeon break, isn't it? Yu and Haim were scared to hear Rue say what they didn't want to say anymore. They crossed their fingers that this was also an isolated case. Thinking for a bit, Yu had an idea. What if this is part of the dungeon rush? Curious, he asked his sister if the event wasn't supposed to happen only in the next month, but Haim reminded him that they were already on the last day of the month. Upon hearing the term dungeon rush, Rue tried to investigate. Dungeon rush? Like dungeons appearing suddenly and with great frequency? Yu confirmed Rue's assumption, revealing that someone in the association, who could see the future, had given them the information. Yu explained what they knew. We have no clues when or where it will happen or how long it will last. All we know is that if we can't resist, we will probably face the apocalypse. Rue asked what the association's plan was, and Yu revealed that the 7 stars, in addition to high-rank explorers, had been assigned to the largest cities, while those of rank B to D were scattered in smaller cities. Rue now understood why the 7 stars were not at the base when it was attacked. This also meant that the association had known what would happen for a long time. Haim was curious to see Rue turn around, as he was unexpectedly going home. Yu thought that Rue would at least be concerned about the situation, but his sister, beside him and with a downcast look, commented, "Ever since Nana left, he has become much harder to understand." Yu always thought the same of Rue. The first time they met, he looked like a wolf guarding his snacks, sneaky and wild. Living in a difficult area, protecting the adorable Nana, he had to face several terrible people. But even so, Yu always saw the boy playing the sweet and harmless older brother in front of little Nana. Yu imagined that Rue would live this dual personality forever, but when Nana became one of the 7 stars, it seemed as if he had lost his wildness, becoming just a brother, dependent on her. Thinking about the 2 siblings, Haim remembered how Rue always saw Nana as his life, his world. Now Yu saw the young man as a lone wolf who mistrusted everyone and never let his guard down, even against them. Haim didn't care how Rue treated them. She just wished he would follow a good path. Leaving Rue aside, Yu stated that the dungeon in front of them would be quite complicated, which was why he would be returning to work soon. The next day, at a table outside a warehouse, 3 people looked at a cell phone, choosing several meat dishes. Seeing how Nozomu had chosen 17 dishes, Yasukage asked if he could really eat it all. Laughing, the man just said he would leave the leftovers for dinner, if there were any. Yasukage reprimanded the man not to eat so desperately. "Don't you have any shame?" But Nozomu reminded the young man of how their guild was broken, and that they wouldn't be able to eat like that normally. While the 2 were arguing, Rue approached. The trio at the table, which included Konatsu, quickly greeted Rue upon seeing him. Imagining that Nozomu was looking for something, Rue immediately asked what he wanted. With a shy smile, Nozomu asked if he could add a few more dishes, since a friend who ate like a beast would also join them later. Yasukage had an idea of who this friend was. "You're not talking about yourself and your nocturnal hunger, are you?" Stating that he was telling the truth, Nozomu told the boy to ask his own brother if he wasn't telling the truth. Convinced, Yasukage picked up his cell phone to place a few more orders. Rue then placed a bag on the table, warning, "Here's your payment." When Rue had made contact the day before, Nozomu thought he was playing a prank. Without a right to jokes, Rue asked if he already had an answer to what he had asked for. Nozomu raised 2 fingers in response. "First, tell me what you're looking for. Kyoka is broke, yes, but I don't take just any mission. Second, get someone to sponsor you and increase the offer." Yasukage, hearing Nozomu, thought the man was talking about him and bellowed, "Are you trying to bankrupt me?" Nozomu hurriedly denied it. "You've already made us run through different dungeons for you, so it's not strange if we get a little suspicious when you add more, right? The world is falling apart. We don't want to be dragged into something crazy." While Nozomu was talking, the sound of footsteps emerged. Yukino gnashed her teeth irritably when she saw who was approaching. A girl with a double ponytail hairstyle and a burly man were arriving. Before Nozomu noticed, Yukino charged towards the 2. Nozomu was startled when Yukino passed by him. Furious, she jumped towards the girl, raising her leg to attack her. Yukino's kick hit the ground, as the girl managed to jump away, but soon she counterattacked with a kick, which Yukino blocked by raising her fist. Immediately, she grabbed the girl's leg, throwing her away. As she passed near Yasukage, the girl hit a wall heavily. Soon, Rue and the man who had arrived joined the trio who were already seated to watch the fight between the 2 women. Since Yasukage was scared, Nozomu reassured him. It's been a long time since they've gotten together, so emotions are running high. You've been through this too, right? With a provocative smile, Nozomu declared that he had never been like that because he was a guy who loved love and peace. Worried, Yasukage asked how long the girls would fight. Yawning next to a sleeping Konatsu, he replied, "Until the food gets here." As they apparently had some time to spare, Rue asked if they could get back to business. Nozomu then addressed the man with white hair and a scar that ran from his forehead to his cheek. Should we listen to Rikumichi talk this time? However, the man showed how his partner was busy with the fight at the moment, so it was better to wait. Since the young woman couldn't speak at the moment, Nozomu asked everyone to introduce themselves first. Rue asked him to go first. Pointing to the white-haired man, Nozomu introduced him. This is Rikumichi Kazushige, and the one fighting is Yasurauka Koko. They are from the guild The End is Tomorrow. Thus, Rue and Rikumichi greeted each other. Seeing Rikumichi speak so informally, Nozomu reprimanded him. Is it okay to speak so informally with your superior? With the atmosphere becoming strange, Yasukage complained, "You only know how to criticize." However, confidently, Nozomu retracted, "This is called humor. You should feel honored." Curious, Rue asked if Nozomu had heard of the dungeon rush. Nozomu promptly confirmed, "It's impossible for them to control such big news." Rikumichi completed what Nozomu had said. The association issued an evacuation warning this morning. Currently, dungeons have appeared in 14 places, causing a considerable number of casualties. Curious, Nozomu asked his partner if he hadn't been called up. Scratching his head, Rikumichi revealed that the boss had already picked up some people, besides them needing to work to ensure the Daisy Company's payment for the next month. Frowning, Rue commented that the dungeon rush would start at the beginning of the month in 14 days, and that was why he wanted the group to clear as many dungeons as were in a clustered area. Until the day came, a practical training should happen in clearing dungeons. Curious, Nozomu asked if Yasukage would also participate in the training, startling the boy. Unexpectedly, Rue confirmed. Nozomu wanted to get more for it, something that Rue didn't mind paying if it was at an acceptable value. Laughing, Nozomu put his hand on his partner's shoulder. Yasukage is very weak, so taking him will be quite boring. Leave that to me. Rikumichi, you'll take on the role. He assured Yasukage that his partner was great at training rookies. Scratching his head, Yasukage greeted the instructor. "I'll be in your care." Returning a smile, Rikumichi warned that they would perform a test so they could create an appropriate training plan for him. Organizing the situation, Nozomu asked if Rue would find the location of the dungeons, but Rue passed the mission to him. Seeing another role being added, Nozomu pouted and made a heart shape demanding, "That's going to cost extra." Being generous, Rue stated that he would buy the information above market price. Excitedly, Nozomu asked for Rikumichi's opinion, who was also satisfied. Ro asked if he wanted anything else, but Nozomu just waited for the other's opinion to confirm. Unexpectedly, Rue left a gain for Nozomu. "All the materials from the dungeons will be yours." Surprised, Nozomu asked if he was serious, if he wasn't plotting something. With a worried look, Nozomu crossed his arms. "So this is a more valuable problem than any item in a dungeon. I'm starting to feel like I'm getting the short end of the stick." Since the man was playing hard to get, Rue stated that he could refuse. Changing the subject, Nozomu was curious to know why Rue was spending so much money to go so far. But since they were going to get paid, Nozomu warned that he would keep his mouth shut. Rue asked for Rikumichi's opinion, who with a smile stated that if they had a contract, he would accept, but reassured him, "It's not that I don't trust you, but my superiors always demand that I make contracts properly." Nozomu remembered how they had been scammed before, which created several confusions. As soon as Rue stated that this was exactly why they were there, Yasukage revealed that there was already a contract with him, and that the person with the contract would appear when the fight between the two girls ended. They also guaranteed something to Nozomu and Rikumichi. "During the contract period, we will cover treatment, food, and housing for all participants, so let us know if you need support." Rikumichi was satisfied, while Nozomu almost gave himself away body and soul. A minute later, a man carrying several bags announced, "The delivery has arrived." Nozomu hurriedly woke Konatsu up for her to eat meat. He also shouted for the two red-haired girls to join the meal. Just as Nozomu had guaranteed before, they ran to the round table, hurriedly grabbing the food with their hands. Koko was furious with Nozomu and ridiculed him. "Just wait until I finish eating." Nozomu confidently told her to shut up so he wouldn't punish her, but unexpectedly Yukino defended the girl she was fighting 5 minutes ago. "Do you really think you can defeat the two of us together?" Konatsu was sure he couldn't. While the meal continued and some fights happened, time passed calmly. Yasukage, worried and curious, asked Rue if he would also be trained. He was afraid of neglecting the guild and revealed that he had already found a master. Rue stated that the boy needed real combat experience, and that a master alone wouldn't be enough. Therefore, it would be good to go to a dungeon. While instructing the boy, Rue received a call. Upon answering it, he asked, "Where are you? I'll be there soon." Curious, Yasukage asked who Rue had talked to, and he announced, "Apparently Fischl is coming." Inside a rank D dungeon, two young men used all their strength, causing a destruction that kicked up dust. Watching them were Nozomu and Koko. Nozomu also complained to Koko, who was pacing back and forth, making him dizzy. However, the irritated girl told him to shut up. Annoyed, Nozomu said that if she couldn't stay still, she should join the attack group. As soon as he mentioned it, she left. Unexpectedly, she ran towards Rue and Fischl, who were surprised by the sudden attack. With a powerful kick, she created enormous cracks in the dry ground, kicking up dust and stones. Surprised, Fischl bellowed, "Who are you? Go away!" But with a sinister look, she challenged him. "I came to fight!" Charging fiercely, Finally, Coco provoked, "Are you perhaps scared?" Annoyed with the girl, Fischl didn't hold back and counterattacked with a kick, sending her to the other side of the desert. She clicked her tongue and, although dirty, showed that she was ready for more. While the two were fighting, Nozomu called Ru. Ru praised how well Nozomu and Coco got along. Smiling, Nozomu stated that he just didn't want her to annoy him too. Ru remembered that it was Nozomu himself who brought her to the dungeon with them, but the young man changed the subject. "The dungeon rush starts tomorrow, doesn't she need to go back?" Frowning, Ru reminded him that Coco had said she wasn't completely healed. Downcast, Nozomu didn't believe she couldn't have come up with a better excuse. Fischl was going to the dungeon every day just to fight, and with that, acted freely. As her instructor, Nozomu was worried, as he would soon be busy with work. Ru asked Nozomu if he didn't know why Coco didn't want to leave, but it was Fischl who answered, "Who would want to stay with a bunch of idiots like you?" While dragging the young woman who had lost the fight, Fischl irritably commented, "They're trying to mess with the 7 stars again, and just watching irritates me. I'm here to let off some steam, because I might end up throwing them into a rank S dungeon." Throwing the girl on the ground next to Nozomu, Fischl said to Ru, "You are stronger than her." Having his student underestimated, Nozomu whistled irritably. "If the two of you fought for real, your crying could turn the desert into a swamp." Nozomu tried to investigate what Fischl was talking about earlier, but the 7 stars member wouldn't say anything to someone of his level. Still, Nozomu encouraged him to speak, as Ru also seemed to want to know. Feeling Fischl's gaze, the protagonist commented, "The dungeon rush will happen soon. As a 7 stars, you also need to protect the city, don't you?" Despite Fischl having an explosive temper, he wasn't the type to act without reason. He decided, then, to speak, revealing that the forecast for the dungeon rush had already been made 3 months ago, but the information was hidden so well that not even the 7 stars knew. Fischl doubted that Tenkin knew, as well as the others. Curious, Nozomu asked if there was any internal fighting at the association headquarters for information to be hidden among them. After casting a look of disapproval at Nozomu, Ru asked Fischl if the matter was linked to the 7 stars selection. Fischl revealed that for the association, the National Explorer tournament that would happen at the end of the next month was more important than the dungeon rush. Interfering, Nozomu commented, "That certainly creates a great image." Struggling to remember, Ru commented, "The tournament has some connection with the dungeon management rights of each country, doesn't it?" Surprised that Ru knew this, Fischl asked if it was Nana who had talked about such information. He was very frustrated with the tournament, as something so important had been reduced to a tool for prestige, while the headquarters closed its eyes, ignoring what was happening. "They are even trying to make us, the 7 stars, lead this dungeon rush as some kind of training camp for rookies." Entering the conversation, Nozomu asked what the management rights they had mentioned were. Fischl let Ru explain. Sighing, the protagonist remembered, "It's possible to get hurt in dungeons, but also to obtain great resources. This solves the energy crisis and has led to a great global advance in technology and science." Nozomu already knew this, so he asked him to get straight to the point. At that moment, Coco began to wake up. Before she interrupted the conversation, someone pulled her. Fischl immediately attacked her, dragging her by the legs, while Nozomu asked him to treat the group's little princess well. After calming Fischl down and making Coco obedient, Nozomu asked them to continue the explanation. Rao remembered that dungeons disappeared when they were cleared and that new ones had appeared in recent years, although all were of low rank, declining over time and, with that, increasing in value. If people couldn't get a dungeon, they took from others. In this tournament, which happened every 4 years, if a country failed to obtain a certain amount of points, it would lose its rights to manage dungeons until the next tournament. Basically, the weak could do nothing, while the strong would receive the entire prize, the rights over the dungeons. Nozomu never thought that a simple tournament was in fact a fight for resources. Knowing how powerful the association was in the country, he questioned if they would really allow outsiders to interfere. Crossing his arms, Fischl puffed, "In the end, they need to make a profit. This is even more true for a giant organization." Ru asked Fischl if he would stay hidden forever, and seriously, Fischl revealed, "I've been thinking in the last few days about my path, my ideals, and my future." A question came into the protagonist's mind. "Ru, can you see a future for this world?" Upon returning home and getting ready, Ru said goodbye to the little fox P. Stroking the worried little fox, he asked, "Be a good child, okay? I can't take you with me this time." With a smile, Ru said goodbye and left. In the past, Ru had talked to Nana about the future. She had said that she wanted to erase the dungeons from the world and create a place where no one needed to fear monsters. In a conversation with Fischl, Ru had asked, "You can rest at my house temporarily, but I won't get involved with you. Don't you dare use Nana's wish to justify your own suffering. I am the one who will fulfill her wish." Now, dozens of red portals were spreading across the city. Some, much larger than buildings, even reached the clouds. Ru arrived at the place where the whole team was already waiting for him. Apologizing for being late, he led Nozomu, Yasukage, Coco, and the others. On the 17th of June of the second millennium's 30th year, the dungeon rush began. In a part of the city, two red portals were very close to each other in the sky. From a window, a surprised little girl pointed at the portal. "Mommy, what's that?" In another place, a werewolf, completely stained with red, held a man's hand. Afraid of the scene before him, another man fell to the ground, sitting. After eliminating hundreds of humans, the terrifying monster slowly walked towards the fallen man. With incredible fear, the man tried to run away. Tears streamed down his face as he questioned why they needed to fight dungeons. At the same moment, Rue eliminated a monster in the dungeon he was in. Having defeated several goblins, he had something in mind. Seeing how well Rue was doing, Kozomu questioned if he was really a rookie. Rao confirmed the information, revealing that he had started learning swordsmanship only 6 months ago. Kozomu praised the talent he had, believing that he could even be better than Kazami Shun if he had started training earlier. Arriving at a depression in the middle of the valley surrounded by mountains, the duo found a deer with energy crystal antlers. The deer stared at them with an irritated look when it saw them. In this fight, Kozomu decided to help Rue, although he thought the young man would refuse. Unexpectedly, Rue commented, "At this moment we are not teacher and student, but companions." Jumping from the highest place they were, Kozomu commented, "It would be problematic if you insisted on fighting alone. But apparently, I have a boss with money, intelligence, and kindness." The kindness that Kozomu mentioned left Rue feeling queasy. With his collaborators, he was attacking the dungeons precisely to collect materials from high-level monsters. The risk of being noticed was worth it, although that's what he imagined at the beginning. A few hours before, when they gathered and headed to the dungeon locations in 2 cars, the group noticed something unusual. They saw 2 people on top of a building. Their gazes were sad as they walked aimlessly. Upon seeing them, Nozomu immediately noticed what they wanted to do. Yasukage was scared, asking why they would do something like that, since the dungeons wouldn't directly hurt them. Nozomu couldn't believe the boy's words and frowned. Rao intervened, understanding what was going on in the minds of those two. Dungeons only appeared outside the city before. They are anxious because dungeons have appeared in their place of peace. Seeing how those two were jumping, unable to save them, Nozomu commented sadly, "Dungeons randomly devoured several areas. You never know when you will be chosen. Even if you're not, the strength of a common human cannot bear to see such tragedies." Nozomu explained the various feelings involved: despair, fear, anxiety. These emotions affect normal people all the time. Confused, Yasukage asked Kozomu if people didn't know that the association would quickly deal with the dungeons. Nozomu answered with a rhetorical question. "So what if they know? Did you know that since the dungeons appeared, the number of casualties caused by people themselves has increased? The true terror of the dungeons is the despair they bring." While Yasukage listened, Koko shouted from the car window, "What are you guys talking about? Let's go!" At that moment, Rue addressed Kozomu, warning that they would change the plan and act separately, conquering as many dungeons as possible in the shortest time. Thus, he instructed Yasukage to reorganize the backline, making it as efficient as possible. Since they were the ones who had been hired, Kozomu let Rue freely choose what they would do. After everything was decided, Kozomu entered a dungeon, saying goodbye. Worried, Yasukage asked Rue if he was really going into a dungeon alone. The protagonist reassured him, "Don't worry if I take a while to come back." Thus, Rue entered a dungeon, finding a thick fog and a forest of tall trees where monsters were lurking. Imps jumped from the trees, attacking Rue the moment he approached. Rao quickly began to attack the monsters, confirming a thought he had in the deer dungeon. The level of the monsters in the dungeons was increasing. After defeating a wave of monsters, Rue found other imps preparing to attack. They seemed to attack in waves, like humans. Rue was surprised to see the level of intelligence of these low-rank monsters, and wondered if there was a monster commanding them. Taking the initiative of the counterattack, Rue grabbed a red can with a fire symbol. He immediately threw the can into the monster forest, and upon exploding, created a sea of flames that enveloped them in the heat of the embers. Impressed, Rue had to agree with Nozomu. With these items, it was possible to save a lot of time. The only problem Rue felt was the need for equipment with fire resistance, as fighting hand-to-hand in the middle of the flames had become difficult. Still, the protagonist managed to defeat the monsters, turning them into rugs. Looking in the direction where the imps had emerged, Rue walked there. In a forest in the middle of nowhere, a red glow was emitted. There was a portal, from which a long-haired man mysteriously came out. The man, with elongated ears, white hair, and purple feather tattoos, looked at his long hands, surprised. "I really did it." Looking at the forest, he observed the human world. With a malicious smile, the human monster wondered, "How should I play this time?" If you enjoyed today's recap and want more manhwa content, subscribe to the channel. We're starting this journey now, and I hope that together we can strengthen this new community. So go ahead and like the video, comment for future parts, and share it with your friends. Thank you so much for joining us, and until next time.